Welcome back to Bite Size Magic, guys. Boros Wayne here, coming to you from the Bite Size Editing Bay. Today we've got a really special episode ready for you guys. This was quite a doozy, so buckle up. We got Anthony Fields, also known as GlacialCity, one of the big wigs up in NorCal. Really cool and a great competitor. He's one of the progenitors of Niv-Mizzet and Rowan, Scion of War. These are two very different decks. You've got hard control and you've got one of the faster, more consistent decks in the format. They've both put up a lot of really good results recently. We're going to pick Anthony's brain about some ideas and some concepts about how you're going to brew a fringe deck and how you're going to challenge some assumptions that kind of get grandfathered into when you're deck building to really kind of eke out those little bit of percentage edges on some of these things. I hope you guys can get some insight off of that. Of course, let's talk about some upcoming events that you can maybe take an interesting deck to and make some waves in if you do well at one of these tournaments. First up, we got Cosmic Crown on January 17th, being hosted by Rude Dude MTG up in Lompoc, California. The entire Bite Size crew is going to be coming up, so if you guys see us, come say hi, and let's try to jam some games during LobbyCon. I know the LobbyCon is going to be kind of part of the entire event as well. It's like part of the planned thing, so we're very excited to be a part of that. Excited to see how this one goes. Directly after that, the weekend afterwards, we have Breach the Bay, January 24th up in GlacialCity. All of these that are coming up are about like 100 plus people. They're all going to be on Top Deck. They're all going to be on the SoCal circuit. This one's hosted by Merline Gaming and Doot Loot, one of our sponsors. So you know that the pricing is going to be really special at some of these. We're expecting some very fierce competition. You might even see Anthony at some of these as well. A little further out, we've got a very special one to my heart, the Atrium coming up in March 28th to 29th. This one's a SoCal run one put on by BFF cEDH, which is me and Benamar working together to try to bring some bigger, larger platinum event to the Southern California area. We're doing this in partnership with Lost Level Card Shops. These are an amazing set of guys. These are card store owners that play cEDH, come show some love to a card shop that's owned by some owners who really care about the community, which is a big reason why BFF is working with them in the first place. Come on out, let us know you're coming, let's have some fun. And without further ado, that's all the events that we have coming up, so let's dive on into the episode. Take it away, Zach.
All right, welcome back to Bite Size Magic. My name is Zach, and today I have two guests, two fellow California cEDH players with me to chat today. I have Anthony, or GlacialCity, as he's known on Discord, and I have the Croce, aka Brian. Welcome, guys. Why don't you say hi?
Hi, my name is Anthony. I go by GlacialCity. Everyone actually just calls me Anthony.
No one calls you GlacialCity anymore?
No one calls me
I can call you GlacialCity if you want.
No.
I don't know, man. You're
Actually,
like cold. You're like cold as ice when you play.
Yeah.
I'm cold when I play. Cold.
Where does GlacialCity come from? I'm curious. I don't think I've asked you that before.
I used to be a Golos player. When I played Golos, my favorite card was Glacial Chasm.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sick.
City, yeah. I used to play EDH with my friends, and then I'd be like, it's GlacialCity time, baby.
Yeah.
Because like no one could win through Glacial Chasm because like you only win through combat damage when you're playing casual. So it was broken.
I remember that. I hated that card. That was like the worst thing in the world.
I hate that card.
And no one plays removal.
And I am the progenitor of Niv-Mizzet, Rowan, Scion of War, and Atraxa, Praetor's Voice.
Well, my name's not as interesting as just my last name, but I got my Christmas sweater on, so happy birthday,
Pretty
Jesus.
sick.
Let's
hopefully
go.
this comes out on Christmas Day. That's the goal. It's the Christmas episode.
The Christmas special.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate having this discussion. I know we've been back and forth, and I'm glad we finally get to, record it. So really what we want to be talking about today is mostly a highlight on Anthony, but Brian's here to kind of help nudge the conversation along and keep the ideas flowing. But we really want to talk about these 2 to 3 decks that you've really been playing, pioneering, and brewing, and that is Niv-Mizzet and Rowan, Scion of War. And the sort of focus today is why these decks are doing so well, how they've seen success, how you've brought them to success, and how other pilots are now starting to adopt these strategies and be like, oh wow, this shit's just, really fucking good, and no one's doing it. And now they're being exposed to a little more of a public eye. So yeah, first of all, congrats on that. I think it's awesome to have decks that, you've really brewed from the ground up, see, come to the main stage and start winning everything. So that's pretty exciting.
As I say, I feel like there's like a little give and take because like there's a portion of time where you have a brewer's advantage. I remember when I first started brewing and playing Ob Nix, I would show up and nobody knew what the deck did and it was just like steamrolling people at Fishbowl 3 and did pretty good at Surfside 2. Like I think I top 40 and top 16, those respectively. But then as people get more familiar with the deck, they start to tech against it, and they know what the deck does. And, as more people become aware, it's not as easy to get some of those wins, especially in the earlier Swiss pods where you could basically just, be ignored by the table and all of a sudden you're winning the game.
Mm-hmm. You're getting a lot more respect is more difficult to deal with for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Especially with commanders or decks that are so reliant on your commander. Like all three, like Obnixilis, Rowan, and Niv-Mizzet are extremely commander-centric. And It does seem that is something that you guys both really love to do. You're like, let's make this commander be the huge part of the game plan. Not like me, who's like, I hope I never have to cast Tymna in a game.
You play Kinnan, dude. What are you talking about?
Oh, well, I'm dabbling, but I've been learning with Kinnan. Like, it's really just not even about Kinnan. It should be much more about the Rhystic studies than anything. Like, once you land Kinnan, everyone's like, kill the Kinnan, kill the Kinnan, kill the Kinnan. But it's like, I'll just sit behind my Rhystic and wait.
Nobody's at that point with Rowan yet, but they absolutely should be. But luckily for Anthony, Lamora is going to spoil all of his deck tech.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? We could just do a 3-hour episode and really go into depth.
Merry Christmas, bitch!
Yeah. Enjoy. So real quick, before we dive fully in, I'm curious, are you guys going to any tournaments soon? And is there anything we want to plug before we get going?
Anthony, I'll let you tell us where we're all going.
That's right. We're going to Breach the Bay, January 24th. It's on the West Coast. It's on the same time as the Royal Rumble.
Royal Rumble.
Yeah, same time. Unfortunately, was not.
But we have Doot and they don't. So
true.
We do have Doot.
We do have Doot.
Doot dominance.
Yeah, we have Doot and advertised on EDH Top 16.
Yeah.
But it's actually like a really, really sick event. Like, it's going to be like in a Dave and Buster's. There's going to be like guaranteed food,
guaranteed prizing.
Guaranteed.
Gold Saber's coming too, right?
Yeah, Gold Saber's coming. There's a few others that like we tried to get that may or may not be there. We'll see. But yeah, it's good. It's good. It's also going to be like a gold event that's like in 45 minutes away on the next day.
So,
yeah.
Sign up for that as well.
Come and get back-to-back tournaments.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really special event too, because like we saw so much success with Fishbowl down in San Diego, getting one of the largest tournaments of all time, and now we're starting to see that Northern California can also throw these really big events. If you're in California, I really could not recommend coming to this enough. Like, this is a great opportunity for us as cEDH players in this state to make our presence even stronger and to really create more community. It's also just going to be a bunch of fun. So if you are in California, if you're nearby, if you're in Europe, wherever, come to Breach the Bay. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, help make it a success. I mean, that's kind of what we saw with Fishbowl. We, started off the first one at like 67 people, and the last one was 280 something. So, they just get better every single time. So come on out and help grow the community.
If you're a local and you're watching this, sign up now. Like, it matters.
Yeah, get her done.
Are you laughing because you haven't signed up, Zach?
Same.
I was signed up. I reached out to Doot like immediately, and I was like, "How do I get into this?"
Okay.
I am not signed up, but I am going. Doot knows I'm going. I'm going to sign up. It's coming. It's coming. I'm trying to finagle a work trip out of it to make life good.
That's sweet.
We also have the Galaxy Crown. What was it called?
Cosmic Crown Championship.
Cosmic Crown. I think you're going to that, Zach, right?
I will be going. Yep. It's going to be the week before in Lompoc, California. Again, really awesome events run by Rude Dude or Daryl Cook. I couldn't recommend this one enough. I think Hire is either TOing or playing in it. I'm not totally sure.
I think he's playing in it. I'm pretty sure he said he was playing in it.
And can we
Gotcha. Oh yeah, Ian will be there. This will be a really, really fun event. So I'm really looking forward to this one too. It's awesome to get these back-to-back Cali events, and this is kind of what it could be like, if we have the California scene humming, is having these gigantic events being thrown all the time. It's all up to the players. Like, if y'all want to come out and support these, then they're going to keep happening and keep growing. So
yeah, I mean, on that note, we might as well, because that's the end of January, both of those kind of back-to-back. We might as well shout out SoCal. We have our upcoming Platinum at the beginning of February. So kind of, like you said, back to back to back. So if you're in SoCal or you want to travel down from NorCal after Breach the Bay because it was such an awesome event, let's keep the vibes going and come on down to the Platinum at TC's Rockets.
Yeah, that'll be February 9th, 14th? Beginning of February, right? Or mid-February?
Beginning of February. Beginning of February.
I'll put
Alex
the details.
Alex is gonna yell at us for not knowing the exact
You'll
date.
see all the details on the screen. Anyway, all right, let's get back to the episode and really just chat about like, oh yeah, links below for everything. Yeah, easy peasy.
Yeah.
So although I said initially this might not be a deck tech, who knows how deep we'll go. This is the primary goal of this is why these decks exist and why they work. And that's what I really want to pick your brain about, Anthony, is, it seems to me like these didn't just come out of the ether. Like I imagine that you either really liked the card or the idea, or you wanted to fix something in the space, in the meta, and attack it from a different angle that just wasn't being done. And the question I hope we can answer today is, what does it take to succeed when you're not playing meta decks? From a playstyle experience, from a political experience, and from a brewing experience.
Have you topped anything with Atraxa yet? I know that's like kind of in the lab still.
It is still in the lab. I won like a 32 or like 40 man tournament with Atraxa.
Sick.
Zach, you mentioned this, but like, every commander I've played, which is like cEDH, Niv-Mizzet, Rowan, right? They're very like commander centric, but Atraxa was like, it was like me rebelling against my locals who always just want to remove my commander. It's like, what are you going to remove Atraxa? So it's just so card disadvantaged to kill Atraxa because you don't win the game with Atraxa. Like there's no combo. It's a pure. It's like Timbercrom. Like it's just there for like pure value. It's like it's there to kill fishes. It's there to make your one ring counters get bigger. It's there to make polywog. just like the little stuff that's like already cEDH, but then it makes it just slightly better.
Makes total sense. Yeah, it's crazy how much value you get out of playing commanders that aren't like don't make you win the game. Like Rowan, like Niv, Kinnan is an example of one that used to attract quite a bit of hate. Still does get quite a bit of hate because it does, combo with Basalt. But the new way it's being brewed is much less focused on like flipping. So people don't have the fear of that. But Blue Farm is crazy. Like no one kills Tymnas. I don't think anyone has ever like swords to Tymna. Yeah.
I'm sure Anthony has too.
Yeah, I know, I bet. Yeah. But let's get deeper into the track record, Anthony. So tell me about where your experience started when it comes to brewing and cEDH in general, and like how we evolved into these decks that are now winning events, topping gigantic plats and diamonds. Like, give me the background.
I was playing Magic in like 2020. And I basically started like Top Deck season 1 playing cEDH. And I think that was like 2023 when like Top Deck season 1 was. So I was playing that. I brewed cEDH because Golos got banned. And I was like, how can I basically play with all my expensive cards that I bought as a casual player? And then cEDH was just pub stomping. So I switched to, I met like basically like all the Cabal members who were my locals, which is like, I guess, super important to the history of this. And yeah, they were just like turbo sending it on Rog Sai. And my cEDH, I played it for a whole year. It was a brew and it was like completely unsuccessful,
You mean cEDH didn't do well into a double Rog Sai meta?
That's crazy.
cEDH is like what led me to Niv-Mizzet, because like I would get fish. I'd sit on a fish and I would basically draw like half my deck, right? A quarter of my deck, 20 plus cards. And I'm just like, I'm drawing all these cards, and I can't use them, right? And then I'm drawing also like the Dragon God, Nico Bol's Dragon God. And I'm like, now it's like super awkward for me to win. Like I got a turn. Now it's even more awkward for me to win. And so I start putting cards like Commandeer, in cEDH. And I started, putting like Niv-Mizzet, in cEDH in order to try and like translate and get wins so I can actually turn my card advantage and be able to actually play them to win the game. You gotta be able to convert your card advantage into like some sort of lead.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then basically I got tired of losing, and, Alex he's like captain of like ABC, he told me like, hey, like Niv-Mizzet's like a pretty good deck, and like I see it in tournament, and like it seems pretty decent. And I was like, I was already playing, Niv-Mizzet in the in the 99 cEDH, and I was like, I really like when this card is like out there, like on the field. I read like a, no offense, poorly written primer by this guy named Atlas, because he played Niv-Mizzet in Penrith, but I like what he wrote. And when I mean by like poorly written, like there's just like grammatical errors, but and I might have those two in my primer, so like is what it is. Sure. But
it'd be even funnier if you did.
I think there's like there's like something with like deflecting swap check, which like is correct, isn't correct, but but it's like, you know what I mean. Anyways, someone DM'd me like the other day about it. Shout out to Panda. So yeah, so then I was like, let me just switch to Niv-Mizzet. And I won my first tournament like ever, because like I basically had won like nothing on cEDH, and I didn't play any curiosities because it was a brew. Like I've only played brews, right? And I was like, wow, like I played Harmonic Prodigy and like Roaming Throne and 0 curiosities, and I actually had Clark the Thumbless in the deck at the time, so I was just like, popping off, storming off, going crazy. And I won the tournament like that, and I was like, okay, like, this is like, I'm doing something right. I eventually put in 2 out of the 3 curiosities, but after the tournament, I then went to my locals and I played against them, and they're like, who hurt you? Because
you.
yeah, they're like, put a curiosity in the deck, like, who hurt you? Like, why are we sitting here and we're just getting stormed out and getting pinged to death, but it's like ever so slowly, and I just it's just something.
You're like, fuck it. We'll put the A+B in.
I feel like Niv like had results, but it never really did phenomenally. Like obviously Shauna did really well on Niv, but like besides her at that time period, this is before Dockside got banned, that's really the only person that comes to mind for me. Would you say like kind of the difference of your experience is that you played in a meta, where the Cabal was like in its heyday with like Zane and Ryan Delaney, all those guys just, just playing the jam on turn 1 or 2. So would you say that, the reason Niv worked for you is you kind of developed it as an anti-Rog side deck, correct?
I did. I actually called it like Big Rog, because I'd be like, they'd say like, Rog size friend. And I'm like, Niv-Mizzet is friend too, And like I could play the fish, and they could ad nauseam turn 1, turn 2, and then I cast Commandeer, and at the time like my Niv-Mizzet list was like an ad nauseum Niv-Mizzet list. So like I could just grab cards in my hand and I could just tempo for the rest of the game, and and just win. And it was like really successful in specifically turbo pods and Dockside era. That's one thing though. Like when I said like progenitor of like Niv-Mizzet and Rowan, obviously like there was people who played it before, but what I mean specifically is that after Dockside was banned, right? These are 2 decks of many that people said was absolutely dead, right? And this is what comes into, understanding brewing, understanding meta, understanding your local meta, understanding blind meta, right? Because there's a difference between local and blind meta, right? Is that people lost engines, people lost Dockside, right? And then I went, okay, like season 1 of Top Deck, I had, as I mentioned before, I had switched to Niv-Mizzet, and I actually became really close just to almost making the invitational just off of like Niv-Mizzet. It was just too late, right? But then like the bans happen, season 2 comes through, right? Everyone is like, Niv-Mizzet's dead, like Rowan is dead, all these decks are dead. The people said Timnook Rom is dead, and it was weird too.
Could never win an invitational.
Yeah. And I'm like the main, pilot like on Niv-Mizzet right now. I was the highest ranked Niv-Mizzet for Top Deck season 1, and then we have a community of people who played or did play, or I don't know if they really played Niv-Mizzet, but at some point they did. And I'm just like, how are these decks dead? I'm like, we just need to replace the engines. And that's what it became about, right? Like putting like Lotus Bloom tech in there, putting in as many of the like the Red Dork package, because Niv-Mizzet was originally like on like blue, on like some weird blue package, which like didn't really translate or convert really well. It's like the deck needs to make mana. One thing I learned from playing cEDH, which is like you need to make mana, right? So cEDH is like you need to make 5 mana, but you actually need to make like 6 mana, and then you need to also like cast your commander. I'm not gonna get crazy into all like the different cEDH reasons of why you need so much mana, but you need a lot of mana in order to play that deck. And I was like, why don't I just basically get the 6 mana, cast Niv-Mizzet, find these replacements for Dockside, J-Lo. And something to note, I guess, is that after the bans had happened, everyone said these decks were dead. When I was playing Niv-Mizzet, I was winning like everything. Like locally, like I was winning like everything. Talk about like Brewer's advantage, but this is like people don't know how to not play without Dockside and meta advantage, And like I think I was like one of the like first people to really figure that out. I was like the 4th or 5th person to reach like 1,000 points in like pure Niv-Mizzet, for season 2 of Top Deck. And I just like I was like, this is crazy. So I like stopped going to tournaments because like I'm locked in. I'm locked in, like 1,000 points. I'm pretty sure it makes it, and it did. And then
ended up being close to the bubble though. Like it was kind of crazy how like feel like 80% of the season, 1,000 points was top 20, and then in the last like couple of months, it slowly went downhill as everybody kind of went turbocharged. I don't think like this year already feels like 1,000 might not make it, which is kind of crazy to say. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Talking a little bit about Rowan, though, what's important to know about Rowan is that I had so much success playing Niv-Mizzet at my locals and like any like tournament I went to. I think there's like one or two big tournaments that I essentially had some like I've never gone like lower than like 3x1 or like 3x2 like with Niv-Mizzet. Like I like bubbled out, especially during the times of when Top Deck had like I don't know exactly what it's called, but the
pairings.
The pairings were essentially broken, where it's like if you didn't win like round 1 and like round 2, like you were not going to make it because the players who did win are just going to keep drawing. And so like in those tournaments, like I just got like bubbled out, you know, brutally. So it's like winning your last 3 rounds, like unfortunately didn't matter. It's a bit fixed now. People complain about it, but it's like, and everyone who like bubbled with me or bubbled at other events obviously were the most affected, you know, by this, right? But yeah, that's essentially like what happened with Niv-Mizzet. But as I want to talk a little bit about Rowan is that because I was very successful, you know, with the deck, and people didn't want to play against it.
Really?
Get their cards, get commandeered, you know, get disrupting shoaled. I think I was like one of the first people to recognize that like Rogsai and TNK, I called them super enchantment decks. So I played like Steel Enchantment and like Copy Enchantment and stuff at the time because I'm like, you necro, I necro. You know, there was
our Rhystic Study.
Our Rhystic Study, my Rhystic Study. You know?
Yeah, I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like a lot of those cards never really showed up into the overall meta until recently, but you've been playing stuff like Disrupting Shoal and Commandeer for a while, and then others were kind of like, oh, yeah, that card's pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah. Fishbowl 4, right, was like my first like big top 16, and I have those cards in the list. I think Lamora actually did a video on that for Fishbowl 4. You know, you have to look, and this was helpful. This was helpful for me. Like my locals were the leading pioneers of the overall meta, so it was an easy translation, right? Because like these guys are winning everything. Like
this is Rogsai dominance, right? Or is this before?
This is Rogsai dominance, like,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
So these guys are like. These guys are winning like everything. Cabal members are all winning like everything, you know. So like every tech I did against them just essentially translated like really well. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's why I played cards like oh, these super enchantment decks. Okay, let's copy those, steal those, right? And I think other people later transitioned to. I'd like to say that Waffle played Shorkai for a bit.
Yep.
Then after like, and you know, he may or may not have studied some cards from list, who knows? But or it's a great minds think alike.
Yeah.
But then I think he then went like, okay, why am I not just playing like Commandeer and all this stuff in Kennen?
Yep.
Yeah. Because Shorkai wasn't doing that well. I remember I played him in some tournament where I was still playing Rogsai at the point. After the bans, I was kind of like floundering around.
After the bans,
yeah, he was on Shorkai. I was on Rogsai because I was like, I think Turbo is still good. Yeah. Obnix wasn't doing great, and it wasn't really because it lost JLo or Dockside. It was more so like the meta was kind of creeping mid-rangey, and the problem with Obnix is if you have 30 cards in an exile pile, like it's odd, like a TNK player can have 30 cards in their hand and the table's like whatever, you know, but when they're face up, they're like, well, that dude has a win, like 2 wins on board, like that's the threat, we're dealing with him. And that's kind of like what I kept running into was, oh, if we just silence him on upkeep, he loses 30 cards. And then you're like kind of out of the game. So I was trying to figure out what to play. So, you know, I thought Rogsai was still good, and obviously it is still good. But the first big tournament I played at, I was against Waffle, and, you know, I cast Necro. Everybody passed. He commandeered it. I packed it, and he's like, "You can't pay for it." And I was just like, "I'd rather die than give it to you."
I get bored. You don't know.
I came close. Almost had it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we do see like, I think whether it be Great Minds or he was like, you know, looking at some of your decks, we saw a lot of these changes happen in Kinnan. Varix as well was a really big pioneer of these changes early on, and we, like you said, saw all these sort of, I would call it like we went from everyone clones Dockside to everyone clones Rhystic Study. And that was a large part of last season. So yeah, Go into like how that
Now we
changed.
can just clone Atali. You know?
That's right. Our game. Yeah. It's like 7 Atomic ones. Yeah.
Like, history of the whole game is super important. I do also, talking about Steel Enchantment and Copy Enchantment, Isaac.
Yes.
Isaac was like the first TNK player to realize like, wait, all these TNK dittos, let me just
Copy heuristic.
and he like won that tournament. I think I remember.
Cowtown?
Was that Cowtown?
I believe so.
Cowtown.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Steel Enchantment to me is such a cool card because it says like two things. One, if it's not countered by the player with heuristic, they don't have interaction. I mean, they're not letting you have the heuristic. And two, nobody else at the table is going to protect that player to let them keep their heuristic.
Yep.
So
It's like a 1v1
in essence, it
sort of
yeah,
thing.
and it gives away a lot of information because either that player, has it or they don't, and if they have it, now you're forcing them to waste their interaction to counter a spell that doesn't win the game. So
Yeah.
I just think the card's great.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to say is like, playing Niv-Mizzet, playing control. Each time like someone wins, you enter a prisoner scenario where it becomes like 3 against 1.
Yeah.
Right. And as someone who uses a lot of interaction all the time, draws a lot of cards, has the most interaction, leads with interaction, depends like if having like a heuristic study or Niv-Mizzet engine, right, to keep those going. I usually like conduct, basically like stopping the player who's trying to win. I'm just like, all right, guys, let's show hands, let's coordinate. But Isaac is like, I played against him a few times. I think he's like one of the best players to play the game.
Yep.
I played the game with him and Waffle at the Invitational, and he was basically the interaction coordinator. So he's really good, and him finding like the Steel Enchantment and tech is just like, I think players just have to be able to recognize like what is meta and what is going on. Those players do really well. I think Isaac, Waffle, and other players, they just like, and Zach, like including you yourself, right? When you came to the list that you had, like it was for the Invitational, like that was
made a huge difference. Yeah.
Exactly. Like you have to understand, right?
Yep.
You have to understand. And this leads back to Rowan, where I brewed Rowan because like I wanted to embrace the Roxai turbo culture. And some of those guys, like they would not play with you. Like they're more likely to play with you like if you were also like playing turbo, because they're like just play turbo. Like turbo is just like the best way to go, right? So I sat down, I'm like, I want a second deck, and I was like, do I build Roxai? And like I legit went and like, where are all the turbo decks? Where are all the different turbo commanders? And I was like, I feel like Rowan just has to be like, I feel like it just has to work. Like no one's made it work, but I'm like, I feel like it has to work. This is like before like Dragonstorm.
Yep.
So yeah, I started brewing it, making it. I didn't like my brew. Dragonstorm came out. I stopped playing it when Dragonstorm came out, and I'm like, maybe it's solved, maybe it's good, but I'm like, I don't like it. I don't want to play it because I don't want to play like a Sisse like deck again, where like I'm drawing combo pieces and it makes winning like slightly more awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to do that. But then the bans of Dockside, like it's once again, it's just so important. Like the banning of Dockside. That's when I went. When everyone said Turbo's dead, that's when I went, well, with Rowan, like it's alive, right? And there's a few things like I found out. Like one, when people played Rowan, like people didn't just try and turbo it out. Like if you read my primers, I have things called like turn 2 enabler.
Yep.
Right. So like with these turn 2 enablers, you get out Rowan, and I have like the math of basically stating like you should see like one of these in every mulligan, kind of like lands, right? It's like you should see like 2 lands like in every mulligan. You should see like 2 lands, 1 turn enabler to get Rowan out, and it wasn't a focus, right? And it's like, and that's the thing about brewing is like people get super distracted by so many things. What's important to note, I guess, what makes me personally successful is like after playing Golos, after playing Sisse, quit Sisse, and quitting Sisse then became, I have 0 attachments to anything. I have like 0 attachments, no pet cards.
Set yourself free. Yeah.
I really set myself free,
Yeah.
right? And I'm just like, I just want to win like tournaments,
Yeah.
Like my buddy said, Alex said, like Niv-Mizzet like can do well in tournaments. And so like I played Niv-Mizzet with 0 pet cards, it sets you free, right? Like I'm like, I want to play something turbo, and I almost played Roxai, but then I was like, I'll play Rowan, and like I try and play Rowan, 0 pet cards, right? There's always like 1 or 2 cards that you can switch out. Essentially, what people don't know is that I was a dual main of Niv-Mizzet and Rowan. So I actually played Rowan for an entire year. And like the successful version of Rowan that I have now was made like October 4th of like last year. And then the cookout, like I basically like sandbagged this thing.
Yeah.
Tested it locally once again a whole year. And then October 4th was the date of the cookout. So it was actually Rowan's birthday when I had that success. But I already knew because like when I was playing Rowan, like I would play some top players like here and there, and I would crush them. Like it had like essentially like 100% win rate against like new players, like period. Like I would go on like streams and like different discords, like Reddit Discord or something, and I would go on like 30 plus runs of just winning, with this deck. And I had at the time there's like 2 Ryans that don't go by Ryan, but I call them double Ryans. And I was like, hey, like I think we can like make Rowan a successful turbo deck. That's like no Dragonstorm, right? I'm like I like 7 rounds. I'm like let's design it like this, right? There's 7 rounds, right? Let's just design it of just like full send. Just full send, all abandonment, just all in on the turbo plan, right? And if you lose, you get stopped, you get cursed totemed, you go next round, right? And so I'm like, let's just make this as consistent, as possible. And I'm like, the goal is that like we have a turn 3 win, basically attempt every single round, right? And it was when we first started, it was like 2 out of 7, 3 out of 7, and eventually like we tuned it up where it was like 6 out of 7 we're getting that turn 3 win, so it's just like, and then it got to a point where it's like it's basically like 7 out of 7. Like every turn I went through, it's like 7 out of 7, but however many rounds the win attempt, is there, And so when I went to cookout, it was like
you have to understand, Swiss, right?
Yeah, I was first in Swiss, undefeated. But another thing to note too, I ended up getting 5th. That was Rowan's lowest placement I've ever had on the deck. Like I had never not topped forward with that deck.
I think, just to add a little color to that, I don't think you saw a turn 3 in that top 16 game. I think didn't Dallas just like slam a turn 2 Adnos and cook everybody?
No, turn 1 Adnos on stream.
Yeah, turn 1 Adnos, 1 on turn 2.
Yeah, 1 on turn 2. I tried to send it.
And you almost sent it too, yeah. he unfortunately not only hit Thassa, he hit 3 pieces of interaction.
Yeah, we were all cooked.
Such as Blue Farm. Yep. I just wanted to also add my piece, which is I really, after you played at Cookout, I had my eyes on Rowan and I was goldfishing and playing it, and I finally proxied it, and I just thought like, I don't think I've ever seen a more consistent turn 3 deck in the time I've played cEDH, where it's not like, it's linear in a way that's extremely diverse because your density of these things is so high, and it's really like turn 2 Rowan, turn 3 life loss, and then I need something to pay off.
Off to the races,
right.
Yeah.
And
do you think it's more consistent than Ral?
Yes.
That's interesting because I know Jacob's been saying for a while that it's basically Rakdos Ral.
In a way, I agree, and I think Anthony can probably lend a lot more insight into this, but for me, the reason it feels like Ral is because Ral generally is a turn 2 deck, but its mulligans are not quite as consistent as Rowan's are.
Yeah.
And the reason Ral is so good is because it is eschewing the normal turbo plan, which is mana into singular payoff. I cast my Dark Ritual, I cast my Necro, I cast my Culling the Weak, I cast my Nas. In Ral, it's like, here's a bunch of spells that don't actually matter, and then I have the flip Ral. And
I might not even get there.
Right, exactly.
It's Rowan, like, this is just going to exile 2 cards. Oh, I found more mana. I found another card exiler. And you're like, I don't want to counter this shit because it doesn't do anything.
Right, yes. Yeah, and Rowan feels like once you get to that life, once you activate Rowan for however much life loss you've got, and you send a tutor, and that gets countered, and then you send a, Inspired Tinkering, and they're like, well, that's fine. And then you hit 3 tutors, and it's like, you just have so many threats that have to be answered on turn 3. It's not just a singular payoff.
People are still in this mindset where they don't counter tutors. They're all like, I don't know what it is with cEDH players. They're like, oh, we'll counter the payoff.
Yeah.
Oh, crap, we don't have a counter spell for that.
Yeah.
As someone who brews, I look at the designs of like every other deck. I goldfish a lot of other decks. Like I was goldfishing Crick like a lot just to like basically help design and make Rowan better. And Rao is one of those decks that like I've goldfish, and I'm like a huge there's decks that I really don't like. Like I don't like Sisay. I don't. And I used to love Sisay. Like if you've only known me as for the small few you've only known me as Sisay player, to hear me say I don't like Sisay, probably shocked. But yeah, I don't like Sisay. I don't like Rao.
Why don't you like Rao?
And because like
I hate Ral.
no, the deck is people don't know how to like stop the deck, right? And it's very simple. Stopping Rao is very simple. Like you can say like, oh, you can just remove Rowan, oh, you can just remove Rao. Like, no, that's no. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why no. Okay, so Rao, right? To understand Rao, like you need ritual. Sometimes you need ritual. So ritual, and then you need like, you also need mana, right? Because it costs 2, right? So you either need like a turn 1 enabler, right? Because it's 2 mana. Like Rowan, you need like turn 2 enabler.
Yep.
And like you need a lot of mana, right? Notice I keep saying mana. If you just counter
Choke them.
the first ritual, that deck is dead. They can't wheel, right? And that's the other thing too. Like the deck really kind of needs like a wheel to basically gain a massive advantage of new cards to be able, because you got to count to 6 with that deck, right? So it's like you need a lot. Like you need the ritual, you need the wheel, you need like
Cantrips,
the other castable cards,
yeah,
you know. And if you just stop the ritual, I mean, obviously you can just kill Ral. But if you stop the ritual, right?
Sometimes killing Ral isn't enough because they have like 3 rituals in hand and they just recast it. But if you choke them on mana, I mean, it reminds me a lot of like playing against Legacy Storm. Like there's times where all days are forced at LED and they're like, why? And I'm like, because I know without LED you can't win. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. I won't get into like the super deep dive aspect of like Sisay, but everyone interacts with Sisay like incorrectly of like the timing of like, because there's like 16 like different options. Like, do these things are on board? It's like, do I cast as pour activation, and then if I do I hit the Wooburg Tapper? Do I hit Sisay, or do I hit the card that gives Sisay the devotion to making it 4/4? What is correct? You know, and it's like, well, you know, it depends. Is it a possibility of 3 Teferi coming out? Dockside's banned, so like the 3 Teferi lines are like not as scary anymore. Like that.
And most of the time they're not trying to win on their turn, so you're not going to see a ton of 3 Fairy, unless for whatever reason everybody passed to them and they have a boatload of mana. But for the most part, when they have their mana set up, they just pass and they wait for somebody else to go for the win.
Yeah, I mean, ideally they want to threaten like, oh, I'll play Deadpool, oh, I'll play Urtai, and in hopes they don't use it, and then on end step, you know, they then put out like the Savala or something, and then you know,
dude, that's the classic line is like, oh no, I'm holding it up for Urtai, like I can stop them, and then they're like, yeah, my way to stop them is to just win the game.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to shout out our sponsor for today's video, Doot Loot. Doot Loot is a cEDH vendor specializing in non-English foils, signed and altered cards, reserved list, judge promos, and secret layers to set your deck apart from the rest. He carries cards for every budget, even starting as low as $5. The Doot Loot Discord is a simple, no-nonsense feed of cards updated weekly. He even does monthly giveaways and free tokens with every order. In addition, we do giveaways from Doot on our channel once a month, so make sure to catch those videos where we're giving away his exciting foreign cards. Keep up to date with new arrivals on Instagram at DootLootIG and join over 5,000 other members at discord.gg/DootLoot. This is the best place for cEDH playing, and it's the place where you want to buy your foreign cards. Without further ado, keep enjoying the video.
But Rowan is like, it's not like Rao.
No,
it's much more.
It has similar aspects though, right? You have to counter multiple things. Like you have to deal with multiple things off of Rowan. But your enablers, like your rituals, tend to be creature based, right? Like it's the Skas, the Burgies, the Crick. Crick is such an amazing enabler in the deck.
Right.
Yeah.
They're also much harder to interact with.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like if you didn't have the removal for Rowan, right, then you probably don't have the removal when you play the Ska, the Stormcone Artist, the Crick, the Burgie, right? And so essentially from there, like you're already pseudo infinite.
Yeah.
And if there's flashback enablers in the hand, heaven forbid there's like a sorcerer schemes, it doesn't even matter if you have like double mind break trap.
Yeah.
Like your dispel's dead because we're not ever casting like an instant. You know, it also might just be like a creature line where it's just like
Crick into Villains.
Villas, Shieldred.
Yep, draw my deck.
No, say go.
Yeah, I remember Lamora's like top 16 game. I know there was some slight misplays here and there, but like, you know, he had so much ability to just like keep tutoring cards where he was like, I'm gonna get double protection to like absolutely ensure that nobody can interact with me. But at that point, it was like, you've probably tutored 4 times. Like nobody stopped you yet. Like this game's in the bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's just much. If it does tap, it is, you know, just to be brutally honest, it is much harder to stop. It's like, oh, cast Justice Will, counter it, sure, okay, cast Crick, nothing, okay, cast Demonic Collusion, you know, with buyback, send it again. You know, it's just like
everybody watching the channel right now is googling what that card is.
You know, cast Passing Flames, right? With Stormcast, you know, just start snorting, start wheeling, just you know, all these different cards. It's like, what is going on? You know, it's
Anthony, can I ask you your favorite question about Rowan?
Sure.
Why aren't you on Adnos?
Oh god. I get so much questions like, why am I not an Adnos? Why am I not an Ancient Tomb? Right?
Underworld Breach.
Underworld Breach.
Yeah.
First off, it's like you have to look at it through Rowan perspective, right? So just remove colorless, right? Just remove colorless, which is like, why would you play Ancient Tomb when you can just play like a fetch and essentially are infinite colorless for the rest of the turn?
Yep.
Right? You colored mana to cast cards. Please stop playing Ancient Tomb and Rowan.
And before anyone asks this obvious question, like Rowan's not on signets, like that's why Tomb makes no sense.
Yeah.
No, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But I think that signets are really flawed cards and extremely poor with like Ristic Studies and like I think signets are really bad. You won't see signets in like any list that I play. Even my tuned TNK, you won't see it. But
I'm on 5 signets right now, Anthony. How does that make you feel?
I think I could do like a whole video talking about
Why signets are bad.
Bad. Yeah. Like that was like one of the first discoveries I made with like Niv-Mizzet. I'm like, these don't really make mana.
Yeah.
You know, like in Niv-Mizzet, like I play like Noble's Purse like instead of a signet, so I can stack mana. And if I miss land drops, well, at least I can stack mana. And you're basically like tapping out anyway. Turns 1 through 2, I call like the development stage. You know.
Yeah.
And people think like you play signets on the development stage, and I won't go into that. Back to Adnos. Adnos is like, Rowan loses a lot of life. There's like 42 ways to lose life in Rowan. And what I tell people, like if you Infernal Plunge or if you Ad Nauseam, it's your last turn. And then, so like be careful. Like don't have like range, like you know, like people who I drive electric. If people drive like electric cars, you know, they're like, oh, only have like 80 miles left. And it's like from San Jose, like you could drive to like Santa Cruz, like there and back like twice. You know, both like Rowan, it's like just because you can lose like 17 life
doesn't mean you should.
Doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Right. But like if you do and you're digging and you need to find something, you just know this is your final turn.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the same thing about Ad Nauseam. It's like you could have already like Infernal Punched or something, and then you do get the Ad Nauseam, right? And it's like now you're at a point where drawing 1 card, like you're dead with Ad Nauseam because of just how high the CMC cost is of the deck. It's not a card you like draw into later as like you're still losing, you know, life here and there as you're, you know, weaving through it. It might just kill like Treasonous Ogre, you know, like it's so many things. There's, once again, there's like 42 ways to lose life in the deck. You don't need Ad Nauseam, even though it's 2 mana. There's other better, higher quality cards. Just straight tutor, you know, just like there's like, I don't know, 13, 14 or 18 tutors like in the deck. Just cast those. Get the card you want. You know, the card quality is extremely high. It costs 1 mana.
Right. It's also like your CMC, your average CMC is so high. Like if you're nosing, you're probably not going to see. I don't even think you could see 10 cards. It's all you're hitting 5 drops.
You might see
10
2.
Drops,
You might hit Villas and like Pier and like be like, cool. Now I don't have mana to cast anything, and I'm almost dead.
well, it's like if you do get like 4 cards, like one of those, and let's say they're all gas. One of those 4 cards will just obviously win you the game. But it's like you're actually hoping that you get interaction, I guess. It's bad. It's just bad.
So about Rowan, I think we kind of understand like the idea of Rowan, right? It's this your take on a turbo deck. You wanted to be able to play this turbo game. And I think in the meta right now, we're seeing quite a shift towards turbo. And this has been happening for a bit. And now there's some corrections that are going on. We're seeing a little more mid-range happening. But for me, Rowan does feel like a turn 3 deck, and feels like the bar for turbo has really been set at turn 2 with Ral and Atali. Those two in my mind are like, when we're talking about a premier, what's the fastest deck I can play? It's one of those two decks. I saw that you recently added in Vexing Bauble, so I'm guessing that is to speed bump these faster decks. Do you find that, I'm just curious, like why is Rowan seeing success as a turn 3 turbo deck when these turn 2 turbo decks exist? Is it partly because people don't know what it does or how to interact with it? Or is it the resiliency? Like what makes it be able to be competitive in the turbo field?
Good question. I think that one, Rao like should never win like any games, like ever. Yeah. And people just let that first ritual resolve, and that's it. If you do, shame on you. And once again, like winning in turns 1 through 2, right, is people are developing, right, and then people try and send it turn 3 and turn 4 ideally. And so yeah, like they're gonna find a lot of success, and a lot of players are not gonna be like experienced or like educated in terms of stopping those decks. I think Atali is way harder to stop than Rao, and that's the reason why I put in like the vexing Bauble, because I'm a pure Atali hater. I've always been an Atali hater.
Yeah.
I know Ian is an Atali hater, even though he's the progenitor of Atali. I think the deck is like absolute toxic. I love when it doesn't do well. You know what? I said it.
I love when it whiffs. When it sees 4 cards, the table freaks out. Then they flip and they're like, oh, that does nothing.
Our game, Brian, where you have the MBT and you were ready for him, and then he flips like dork, Pact of Negation, nothing, and then I clone it. I hit 4 pieces of gas, and you're like, all right, I'll MBT that, you know?
Yeah, Anthony, you would have loved this. I just let the Atali resolve, even though I could have mind break trapped it just to see what flipped absolutely nothing. Zach on his turn clones it, flips absolute gas, and then I mind break trap him. Yeah. He's on Kinnan. And
I was like,
his
surely
face
Brian
just,
has
like,
nothing
drops.
Here. Yeah.
But I agree with Vexing Bauble. I put it into Hada recently. I was playing Julian, who's probably the premier Atali pilot, and he basically told me I was an idiot for not being on Vexing Bauble.
Yeah. I think he told me the same actually. So
is this vexing? Is this idea of Vexing Bauble? Are you essentially you're like, okay, I'm gonna take a turn off if I'm casting this Vexing Bauble, or I'm still trying to push turn 3?
So there's like 16 turn 2 enablers in Rowan, and essentially in Rowan you actually have a free turn 1 play. Like you can play anything. Turn 1, like you can play anything because like 10 of those starts is like you could have like fast mana, like a Chrome Mox, and if you play a Chrome Mox, you could play Vexing Bauble, pass.
Sure.
So that first turn is like really free, and so you're actually able to still send it turn 3. And I guess the reason why like Rowan is more successful on a turn 3 in comparison to those two decks being on a turn 2, if you've seen like if you look at the bracket of Lamora's run or my run, I think we each had 1 seat 1, and we won those games.
Yeah.
1 seat 1 like in our runs, and it's like, okay, so we're winning turn 3, like I played against Atalis, I played against Raus, right? And those decks had the higher seat orders. How did Rowan win? Well, the deck is actually packed with a ton of creature removal. And the list is not punished for playing creature removal.
Yeah.
Like, I can play Dismember, right? And
it's not
think about card disadvantage, right? Is like, and when you use your 1 piece of removal on an opponent, right? It's not 1v1, right? So you're not exchanging 1 card for 1 card. Like basically like the mathematical values, like you're getting like 1/3, maybe even like 1/4 of that card's worth when you use it. But like with Rowan, it's like I can tap Rowan, hold priority, cast Vendetta, let Vendetta resolve, kill like Atali, next, or kill Crom, neg 7, neg 5 life, right? Kill Kennen, whatever. And like a card that usually is like, because it's bad to go 1 for 1. It's like, it's really bad to go 1 for 1. which is also the reason why like Rowan doesn't get removed a lot, because it's like it's turn 1 through 2. You know, do I go a card disadvantage and then not be able to develop because I've tutored for removal, and then my opponents like played Ristic Study, and now I'm just out the game forever. You know what I mean? But Rowan doesn't get punished for that, so it's like I see Atali. I see, like, if Atali's doing, like, a Dork package or, like, a Rag Event package, it's dead. It's dying. I'm mulling every single time for removal if you're in higher seed order. And so that's, once again, and that's something I told Lamora to do. I was like, Lamora, like, get your snuff out, mull for interaction if you're a lower seed. And he did, right? And he said snuff out was his MVP of that whole run, And it's like, okay, I don't really trust my opponents to play against Rao correctly. I know how to play Rao correctly. Rao's dying every time. So
the amount of I had one game at the Tough Mulligans where like literally told the table like we need to deal with Rao. Rao's gonna go off. 2 blue players, myself on Dahada, Rao. Rao turn 2 is a J-Will. Neither blue player has interaction. I have a Mayhem Devil, hilariously, and I have 3 treasures left. I crack treasure. They flip Rao, and then instead of instantly ulting it, they had to cast something else. I forget the exact scenario, but I'm like, cool, like, crack a treasure, ping Ral down, gets deswatted. crack a second treasure, ping Ral down, gets redirect lightning. I was just like, are you kidding me?
Love these blue players in my pod,
yeah.
Oh my god. It's crazy though, but I think like that's some of the advantage you have too, is that there are these slightly faster decks that need to be dealt with. And you're coming from like a control background, so honestly not being the first one to go off is ideal, because you can have that table talk of, here's what you guys need to do, here's how we deal with these decks, and then they're going to have to deal, the table's going to have to deal with them, and then you have a window. I mean, very rarely do I find pods where a Ral goes off before me and then I try to go off and I also get stopped. I mean, it happens, but for the most part, on those early, by like turn 3, if somebody's already pushed and got stopped, it's free reign. Unless a deal was made where, to stop that player, you had to agree not to push on your turn, which happens, and that's fair. You're often getting free windows. And I mean, blue players kind of have a dilemma right now. It's, am I holding up mana on my turn 2 to deal with this, or am I tapping out and casting my Ristic Study? And it's a tough choice. And sometimes you have to convince them not to cast the Ristic Study. And that's hard to do.
No, I like your point there, because it's like if there is a Rao, then it's like, and there's a Rowan, but Rao's higher in seed order, you just have to kill the Rao first, right? And the best part is you can have removal in your hand, and like the table doesn't think you're the one who's going to deal with the problem, so you can basically talk them into using their interaction versus Ral while you sit pretty. And they don't expect you to, especially if you're playing non-blue. So
which is funny, because like I feel like I'm always the one with the swords, the silence, the removal, and the blue players are like, well, I thought the Ristic would find it for me.
As you should, though, right? It's like that's what keeps the game alive. You have to keep the game alive. And then when that player gets blown into oblivion, it's a 3-player pot.
It's game time.
Is curious, what is your political mindset playing Rowan? How do you politic the deck? And this is obviously, there's a lot of scenarios that come up, but I like to think about politics from mindset points of view, where it's like if I'm playing blue farm, it's like I can use my counter spells without casting them, or I can say, oh, if I have a Nas on the stack, like I can politic this to resolve if I do it the correct way. What's the framework that you operate when you play Rowan? And then I'd also love to hear how you're thinking about it from Niv as well.
For sure. Yeah, I'm always like looking through politics, I guess, from like both lanes. On Rowan specifically, I guess what I'm like most famous for on video, on the stream, you go through the levels of politics, because like for me, politics is just gathering information so that, an individual can make the best play. Right. And then if you ever did like a free coaching session with me in either of my servers for the Rowan Discord or the Niv Discord, which I run, I talk about these things. It's just information, but like as you go through the ladder, right? People go, no. Then I go, and this is what I did at the cookout. I said, okay, all right. How about you just let everything through, and I'll kill the other 2 players, and we can 1v1. In a fair manner.
I do that a lot.
Yeah. It's like you got to find something. You know what I mean? Like if someone has like a silence or something, right? It's like you don't want to get silenced. You don't want you don't want these, things to happen to you. And they're like, yeah, that Kennen player is about to win next turn, and like silence won't stop him. And it's like, yeah, remove him, sure, And I've lost deals because of it, because I'm just like, hey, I'll give you 2 turns, give you 3 turns. I've won some because of it, but it's still better than like whatever was about to happen to you. So
yeah. I mean, I've absolutely done that before, where I've made a deal not to win, and then I've had like dual caster combo and basically said to the person I made a deal with, what if I kill the other 2 opponents? Like, they're not underneath the deal not to win. Their boards are strong. Do you think that you have a better chance 1v1ing me? Because after I dual caster, those tokens are all sacking, and we're back to status quo.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of brings up this funny prisoner's dilemma where they start thinking like, do I have better odds of 1v1ing him? And like often people will take it like, yeah, get rid of the other 2 opponents. Like,
yeah.
I feel like you have a very different mindset when you play Niv though. Like I don't know if you've ever played him, Zach, but Anthony's a terrorist.
I don't think we've played. I remember we've played a little bit.
I'll give you an example of what that means. Like, I recall at the Envy, I cast Dahada. Everybody passed. I down-ticked Dahada. Everybody passed, and then Anthony goes, "Hold up, I didn't pass." And I was like, "What do you mean you didn't pass on a down-tick?" And he goes, "I didn't pass." And I was like, "Okay, are you doing something?" And he passes me, I think it was a trick bind. And he just shows it to me. And then I'm like, "Okay." And he goes, "Yeah, I pass on your down tick." And then the rest of the game, like, this freaking thing is in my head. Like, I have a wish claw, and like, he's like, "Are you gonna activate it?" And then he gives me the eyes, like, "I still have a trick bind, bitch."
Yeah, that's a very blue player thing to do. Though,
and like
right?
the rest of the game, like, I wasn't able to push because like, if I activate this wish claw to get a win, like, he's gonna trick bind me. Like, if I try to down tick Dahada to like hit this amount of treasures with a magnet, I'm getting trick binded. If I activate magnet, I'm getting trick binded, and like, he just got in my head. It was great.
Yeah. That's a very blue player thing to do, right? It's like, let me show you this piece of interaction. If you jam, we lose. Don't jam, let me keep this. But that's almost like another layer to that where it's like, I'm just going to show you, and you're going to have to think about if and when you can try and move around this piece of interaction. But I never have to use it.
And the funniest part is it's split second, so I really can't.
Yeah.
Like, there comes a point where it's like, I just eat it or like try to get him to use it on Kinnan or Sisse.
Right.
And that's what he was like, I want to use this on Sisse. Like, don't force me to do this. Right. And, ultimately it didn't matter, but it like basically got in my head for every single play for the rest of the game.
Yep.
Yeah. I do like to pass, my interaction pieces, especially if I've had multiple, I'll show like them all and I'll go mutual destruction or an understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll look at it. And then they let me know.
Yeah. Like, all right, I'm okay to lose. Yeah.
And the funniest part is after the game, Anthony's like, there's never a scenario where I'm ever trick binding your Dahada or your Wish Claw. Like, that is for Sisse.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I just want to show you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to, let's say that we're in scenarios where it's like, okay, we're all playing, you have a turn 2 Rowan, maybe I have a piece of removal or a piece of interaction to stop the turn 2 Rowan, and I'm like, hey, I want to keep this. What are you doing on your next turn? How do you navigate these kinds of things where it's like, I'm not winning with Rowan, but I am still advancing my state? Or do you say, use it or don't use it? Like, what's the framework there?
Yeah, that's a good question. If someone asks, like, am I winning, like, on my turn, if I have protection, I say, like, go for it. Do it, Just whatever happens, like, I'm jamming, this is my window. Regardless, if I am not comfortable, maybe because like I think other people have interaction as well, and like I don't think I can push you even if I do have protection, then I'll look at you and I'll go, congratulations, like, you got me, and I'm like, let's make a deal, like,
sure.
And just cut through it, because I love, as a control player, I love to save time. So like when I do politic, like I don't want to have a long, like, 30-minute whatever conversation, trying to just like weasel my way into things. I'll just go straight like, hey, I'm not gonna win, here's my 2 things, I'll get this, I'll pass. If anything, this is actually beneficial, I'll destroy these other players. And to say nothing, that's exactly what I do. But then someone goes, well, hey, I have removal too. And it gets a little complicated.
You can be part of this too.
And I'm like, oh man. And I'm like, okay, And I'm like,
then the removal turns out to be a bowmaster, and you're just like, oh, sweet summer child, I'm playing Niv-Mizzet.
Yeah.
Well, they got to reveal it. If they don't reveal it, then they're not part of the deal, and I pass turn. So
just follow up to this. What does your advantage state look like in Rowan when you're not winning? let's say that I have a swords and we're in someone's end step about to go into your turn. I have a swords for your Rowan. I'm like, hey, don't push. What are you doing on that turn? Let's say you have some tutors, or maybe it is a little more like non-deterministic where you're like, I don't know, I have an inspired tinkering. I don't know what it's going to get. Like, you can kill me if you want to. I'm going to see what I get. But let's say that's tutor scenario. What's your advantage state look like if you're not winning the game?
Bro, he always has D-SWAT. You're not swordsing Rowan.
No, so I still have like control player at heart, and I just tell people, I'm like, don't swords me, right? I'm like, I will nuke the board. Once again, like I'll nuke the board. I'll kill this person's cannon. Like I just want to keep
reset the game.
I will reset the game as much as I can, where like everyone is even, or someone's plummeted to the shadow realms. I think it's super important with zero trick. You know what I mean? Because like if the like I want to be in a situation where I'm top decking, and then they want to be in a situation of like, and I also want to see their hand as well. Because I'm like, if you just have like straight win, I'm not just gonna just like kill cannon and then you win the game. Sure. So it's like I hope you're showing me the swords, because like you're far from a win, and so I will just make sure that you and I at least have a chance to have that one.
Create more parity.
So,
I've been doing that a lot lately, where like I get a Citadel in play and somebody shows me a silence, and I'm like, listen, don't cast the silence because the next person in line kind of looks like they're gonna win, and you don't have anything else. What if I agree not to put any sort of win on the stack? If I hit an abolisher, I'll stop. But let me find answers for the rest of the board, whether that be I find a tutor, I'll get a Mayhem Devil, I'll get a Ranger Captain, like something so that we both get to see another turn.
Yeah.
And, with some of the better players, they're like, yeah, I don't want you to have a Citadel, but I also don't want to lose. Yep. So, we'll make a deal. You find a tutor, you get a Mayhem Devil, and if you can also find a Ranger Captain, and then you're agreeing to just pass and kind of nuke that Rogthras board and make it so they can't win so I can untap, like, A+.
Yeah. Yeah. Is Villas one of those pieces for you, Anthony? Where you're like, hey, let me get a Villas out. I'll do board control. I won't win. And that way you have advantage on board, and you can deal with problems that are in play.
Well, I mean, it know your audience.
For sure.
Right? Like, you guys know the power of a Villas, and I don't think...
I know. Jacob tries that crap all the time, where he's like, Villas will deal with this, and then he draws 20 cards, and I'm like, so now we just lose to you?
Yep.
Exactly. So, like, if you guys are my pot, I'm not going to get Villas. Like, like, if I'm in, like, people who, like, don't know Rowan as well, or, like, don't really understand how cracked Villas is, I'll get the Villas, for sure.
Yeah.
But, like, in top... Yeah, I'll get the Villas, I'll get, like... Maybe they let me get Crick and Villas, which is crazy.
I am helping.
But like, but like top player pods, it's just like, let's just top deck. Like, let's just top deck. May the better top decker win. It's
I had a game yesterday where
situation, right?
Where I basically had a turn 2 Citadel after the Dahada. Basically got all that removed, including my Dahada, but had a Culling the Week and a tutor and additional mana, and basically was like, all right, like, you guys blew up my game plan and like wrecked me. I'm getting a smothering Tithe and a Mayhem Devil, and good luck with the rest of the game.
Yeah. That's so funny.
I love that, actually.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. I think we've kind of covered somewhat of a philosophy of Rowan, and I'm curious too, is we just saw Frenzy at the Falls. So we saw that Niv and Rowan top 4 this event. And so both of these strategies are working in the meta right now. For people who are interested in picking these kinds of decks up, what are the first steps you would have them take? i.e., who are each of these decks for? Where can they get started? And if they want to dive really deep into them, what routes would you recommend they go?
Yeah, good question. Join the Rowan Discord, or join the Niv-Mizzet Discord, or join both. And then, you can talk to the really cool people that are in there that are like experts as well on the deck, great communities. You want to play Rowan if you're so tired of seeing like the same, you play both these decks if you're so tired of seeing the same things over and over, right? Let's just get that straight. Like, for example, there's no Adnos in either decks. There's no Breach in either deck. There's no Necro in either deck. There's no Thoracle in either deck, right? These decks, well, Curiosity was like kind of unique, but now there's like Vivi. Vivi is in the 99 of Niv-Mizzet. Niv-Mizzet is actually, I know we haven't talked too much about Niv-Mizzet, but Niv-Mizzet is a great deck. It's a storm deck. You can win without Niv-Mizzet now having VV in the 99, so that's really cool. I saw Kindle play, some descendant of my list, and I looked to me that like he, especially with like the words that he said, like that might have been like his first time ever, like curiosity on VV
In the top four of this tournament.
Yeah.
And he almost won without ever casting Niv. Like, I think Anthony and I talked about this a bit. Had he just sequenced a couple of things differently, I think he won that game.
Yeah. Or if he just didn't have like signets in his list, and like free spells, so that you can keep going. No dead cards. And
I think signets have a time and place, but I'm playing a Citadel list where I just want to, have a Citadel, and if I get more mana out of it, I'm a happy camper because I probably have tutors and crap in my hands.
Sure.
But I also get like, there's times where like you don't want to see signets. Like I don't want to draw a signet. Like that sucks. So like I'm in between worlds. Like I want to hit a signet like turn one off a Ancient Tomb. I want to hit a signet off a Citadel. Do I want to like go to my turn 3 and draw a signet? Absolutely not.
Yeah. I would also pose 3 scenarios here. The first is a deck where signets are good, Kinnan, because those are mana neutral rocks. I can go signet into signet into signet. The second scenario is we saw Timna Dargo. It was on much more signets. And then we see Sylvie's take. And she's like, oh, why don't we just have dorks that make treasures for 1 mana that fuel Dargo? That's way better.
That's Anthony's take, right? Like dorks that make treasures.
Right.
dorks
Exactly.
treasures.
Yeah. The third thing I would
'Cause
talk
they
about.
stack. The thing is they stack. They
Mm-hmm.
stack value, which is like signets don't do that.
Yep.
I've gone both ways. Like I'm back to where I might need to cut a signet and go back to some type of dork. The problem is Mardus aren't great. Like I know you run some of the red ones. They're all 2 mana though. Like if we ever get like a really good like red or white 1 mana dork, besides Ragavan, all for it.
Let me say this. Let me say this. Like Arcane Signet, Generous Plunder. Arcane Signet, Generous Plunder. Generous Plunder stacks treasures. It's super political. Maybe someone's down, you can give them a treasure, right? It deals damage. You can add a Curiosity on Generous Plunder. You can draw 2 cards because it deals damage twice. It has minutes. This is all in comparison to like Arcane Signet, right? Because that would be the slot, right? It works with Curses of Opulence, right?
Love
it has
Curses of
minutes.
Opulence.
It's swinging. It's making more mana. You can flare, right? It's like
It's true.
there's just so much more. You can block. You can block a Timna, buy Timna, buy Kennen, right? It's like you get so much more value out of like a card like Generous Plunderer if you build and brew it correctly with synergy than you would in terms of like dual Arcane Signet.
Yep.
Are you saying I need to like go rethink things and maybe put Generous Plunderer back in my list? I used to run it in Obnix. There was more synergies there, but like I don't know. We can talk about this offline. There's a lot of like thoughts as to how to synergize and get to hot out as fast as possible. But like Ancient Tomb Signet into Esper is something I do all the time, or a tutor, which feels really good, but there's times where they feel really bad. So I think there's like that fine line, like because like Zach was saying, chaining signets never feels bad. Like if I get a Citadel and play and hit 2 signets in a row, like cool, that's 2 open mana. I'm a happy camper, but I don't want to draw them. So it's this weird kind of like give and take. I have a question I'm curious about, and maybe we can talk about this really briefly, is, if someone wanted to play Niv, but they're not from a control background, how hard of a deck is that for them to pick up?
Yeah.
Incredibly difficult, actually.
Yeah. Because like control doesn't really exist in the cEDH meta for the most part. Like it's kind of been burnt out a little bit. So like you're kind of already fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah, I have a thing called like Rowan philosophy and Niv-Mizzet philosophy, and then there's an article that I like to reference from a pro Magic player. I think his name's like Andrea or something like that.
Andreas Mengucci.
Mengucci?
Yeah, Mengucci. Yeah, that guy.
I love Mengu. He's great.
Yeah, he did a deep dive on card advantage, and like I already basically had those philosophies in my head, but seeing him write it out was like gold. Yeah, I essentially like when I brew, it's all about card advantage and what's card disadvantage and everything, and that's why the decks really work really well. But like when you play Niv, when you play control, like you have to really understand like everything. Like you can't play control and not understand everything. Like you have to know. You have to coordinate with the other pieces of interaction if there is any, because like if you mess up as you're weaving through, the board state interaction, if you mess up, like you just can't win the game. I guess I didn't realize like the deck takes a lot more excellence. There's a lot of there's micro play, which is like your own sequencing, and then there's macro play, right? Which is like understand everything else that is going around you.
Yep.
Right. And you basically live in the macro world, right? Where it's like, because Niv-Mizzet, you just land pass, right? And then you have to understand like, okay, do I actually stop this grand abolisher? When do I stop interacting, right? And you just have to know like how and when to interact. And like, and if you just try and sandbag and priority bully, like you'll lose a lot of games actually by doing that. I find more often than not, it's like, you have your communication, you gather as much information as you can, because that's cEDH politics, right? Is you gather data to make the best assessment. And then more often than not, like I'll send mine first, because it's just, I just have the most correct piece because that's the deck I'm playing. You know what I mean? And so you have to let go of some concepts of like, always sandbag your stuff. And it's like, no, like you sandbag fluster.
That's the turbo player.
yeah, exactly, But yeah, you sandbag, fluster and mind break trap and everything else I think is up for discussion. But
I think that's the hardest learning part for most cEDH players is understanding the macro environment. Like I feel like newer players are fixated on their game plan and it's very linear. And like, when you don't know what other players' decks do, like, threat, like, they're casting this, like we could lose, I freak out, I instantly counter it. And it's like, well, no, like that, you didn't need to counter that, or that wasn't the right spell. It's like learning what other decks do and how they function. Like, you don't need to force a Kinnan. Like, you need to assess their board state and figure out what's going on and what they're doing. Same with Sisse. Like, you need to understand, like, how they win, like, the math required, what their board's doing. And once you can understand that, you have a much better concept of the macro environment. So, like, that's probably, to me, why playing a deck like Niv-Mizzet is a pretty hard deck to start out on, because you don't have that good foundation of knowing what everybody else's deck is doing. So, it's much easier to pick up something like Rowan because it's a much more linear game plan where you're like, okay, A plus B equals I should win. And, I have removal for any other threat that might come my way, but I don't really need to focus on what every single player is doing the entire game. It definitely helps. Like, I feel like coming from a control player playing turbo, like that probably gives you a huge advantage because you know everything, but it's much harder to gain that insight without years of playing.
Exactly.
Yeah. In addition, you can't goldfish Niv-Mizzet, It's not like, I'm not going to be like, oh, let's open up Moxfield and golf. It's like, no, every scenario is macro play, right? So it doesn't really matter what I'm doing as long as I'm able to deal with what's currently going on. So it's highly contextually based. There's not it's not like, oh, I have to sequence this breach line correctly. Like, there's sequencing, but it's only going to come up in game. And so your practice has to be in game with the deck more than it can be.
That brings up a really good point. Like, you can't really sit there and be like, haha, they're casting this, like, I'm gonna goldfish countering this spell right now.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And then pings as well with Niv-Mizzet. I always tell people, like, I could do a whole guide on like how to ping correct. I love when I have a Bowmasters. It's just like Niv-Mizzet, but how to ping, when to ping, where to ping.
Who to ping? Yeah.
Who to ping, why you ping is like a whole master class of itself. And there's methods and there's correct and there's right answers to it. Like, there's levels, and if you mess up, it's probably a really high percentage that you're gonna lose. So.
Well, we were in that scenario yesterday, Brian, where it was like, I have my imposter mech that's a Bowmaster, which, by the way, when we're talking about things that should not have been interacted with, why is it eating? Like, I have the Kinnan on board, I cast the Tezzeret, I'm like, this will not get Basalt. Everyone's like, it has to be countered, you have to get rid of this, don't let Kinnan have a Tezzeret. And I'm like, I don't know how more clearly I could state to you that this is not going to get a Basalt.
But did you not understand my game plan of like just getting them to use all their interactions so that I could go for the win?
This is a fear-mongering masterclass that Brian's putting on. It's just, we're just yelling and pointing fingers, And I was like, you played it really well though, because it's like both those people, they're just going to listen.
They freaked out.
Yeah, they're just going to listen to the fear. They're going to be like, Kinnan can't have a Tezzeret. No matter what I say, even if it's like, I just need to get rid of the Bowmaster. Like, that's the only thing I'm doing. But we were put in the scenario.
Which is even funnier because, right afterwards, I believe he flashed in a Ranger Captain after I cast Adnos anyways, and it's just like, he could have just flashed in the Ranger Captain, and you basically would have had to agree to never get Basalt anyways.
Well, I put it on the stack with me saying I'm not getting Basalt. And the fear-mongering was crazy. But
it was great. I was just like, no, you have to counter that. Yeah. You have to counter that. And they did. The funny thing is, though, like, ultimately, I don't think anyone ever wants Kinnan to have an imposter mech that's a Bowmaster with, multiple draw engines on the field. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to see that. It's basically why I lost, because you kept pinging me.
Yep. yeah, but we were in scenario. It's like, you have the Mayhem Devil, I have the Bowmaster. We have to work around how are we threat managing this board. I actually do think it would be cool, Anthony, if you would be down. We could do an episode where it's the pinging masterclass, where it's like Mayhem Devil, Bowmasters, Niv. There's all these different things that do this, Bowmaster-esque thing, and like how and when to use it, I think would be really interesting. So if you're open.
Yeah, I have a doc. We can.
You have a whole doc. Nice. Yeah. Hell yeah.
I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But I think that brings up a good point, Zach. Like, that's sometimes what you need to do as a turbo player is, just convince the other two players that that person is the ultimate threat at the moment, and they should use all their interaction. And even if they don't, like, they just both revealed to me that they had interaction to deal with you, even if you convince them out of it. So, like, now I have like all the information I need at the table. Mm-hmm. It was unfortunate that somebody had a high fay with a Ranger Captain as I went to win, but that is what it is.
Totally. Yeah. I don't know if you could have gotten around anyways with it, because I had the Bowmaster, right, in play. So if they're drawing off their drawing,
did you win with the Bowmaster?
I did.
You won, right?
Yeah. It was, but the situation was. Yeah, but it was a little more complex because Brian was at a point where he was kind of like getting bullied out of the game because there was like multiple Ranger Captains, multiple silences on board, and it was like, it's a slightly more complex situation than just like the Bowmaster.
I basically did what you did, Anthony, where I was like, you have a silence, you have a Ranger Captain, you guys have interaction, like, have at it, Zach.
Yeah, like,
I'm sitting back.
Yeah, right. Okay, so other things we want to chat about in this discussion, I think, are I really want to talk about timing and meta positioning. Secondly, I want to shout out Mana Vault Proxies. They're a US-based proxy company, and they help make this game more affordable so that you can play based on your skill level and not just the size of your wallet. I would not be playing this game if it weren't for proxies, so I love what Mana Vault is doing. They're even offering 5% off if you use the code SNACK at checkout. Without further ado, keep enjoying the video. So with these decks, like I said, we did see that Niv and Rowan both top forward, and what most people would call a very turbo meta. So I think both takes where you're like, okay, if everyone's going fast, I'm either going to say no to the fast decks, or I'm going to be one of the fast decks and attack it in a unique way. So the question I kind of want to pose is there a right time for these? And is there a situation where Niv or Rowan might be better positioned in the meta?
The answer is like yes and no. Mm-hmm. And it depends on like what tournament you go to.
Sure.
Right? Like if you go to like a 500-man tournament, you could just be playing like the most random, terrible decks that exist. Like bracket, just like I think about like Super Smash Bros. It's like it's like there's certain characters that I might play against, as I go up and develop, in this bracket, and each region too is different. Like if you go to Georgia, it's different than if you come to California.
Totally.
Where I'm sure it's different if you went to like Ohio, Texas, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, whatever, And there's region bosses as well, right? And like those region bosses, and you guys know who they are, or if they're from your area exactly.
I think I was pointing at Zach.
Oh, I was pointing. I was like Brian.
I'm pointing at both of you.
Yeah.
And the region bosses like define those metas.
Totally.
And so like you might see some weird things like when you travel like to places, and it's like super blind to you. And you're like if you're traveling in, like you're obviously like you're the spice. Like if you flew from a plane or traveled hours to get there, you're essentially tampering with that local meta, right? Which is really cool, which is really fun. So timing it depends. Like, we talked about a lot of different eras, right? We talked about like Top Deck Season 1. We talked about, before dockside bans, after,
Yep.
dockside bans. My original plan with Rowan and Niv-Mizzet was like, I was going to play Niv-Mizzet, right? In Turbo. And I had a lot of success in that. And then my plan was to play Rowan because people love Turbo. They love Turbo. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that will go viral. And it did actually go viral.
Yep.
And then I'm like, I hope a lot of people play Rowan, and then I can play more Niv-Mizzet.
Yeah.
And that's like, and Frenzy was weird because it was like both.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So it's like, wow, that's interesting. It's so cool to see.
I bet.
Do you ever have like a consideration to, hey, I'm going to play this 250 person tournament, 7 rounds, potentially 9 rounds, depending how you do. I'm going to play Turbo instead of Niv just because of like the mental taxation of playing Control for that many hours in a row. Like, I know I used to play a bit of like Malcolm Timna, and while I had like pretty decent success on the deck, even like a 3-round bronze by round 3, like heading into that top 4, I'm just like mentally burnt out.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't play Niv if I don't feel like absolutely 100, if I feel like any sort of fatigue, mental fatigue, physical fatigue, because when you do play, this is what I said, like time is super important, right? I do like to make sure my opponents are playing at a faster pace. Judges these days are doing a really excellent job making
Much better job, yeah.
That's people are playing at a faster pace, but like there's times, like you could be sitting there the full 80 to 100 minutes,
Yep.
playing a control deck, and I guess my season 3 of Top Deck, I'm just like, I guess feeling like more fatigue. So I basically made it like an all Rowan run so far. Mm-hmm. People are like, where's the visit? I play it like locally here and there, but yeah, no, that really, really good that you brought that up. It's like, you have to know if you do bring, I'd say like Niv-Mizzet, like you're gonna be sitting there, you're gonna be going through the wire, right? So
I don't know if there's a right answer to this question. Do you feel Niv was the wrong choice for the Envy? I mean, even playing Turbo, almost every single one of my games went to time. Like that was an entirely exhausting event. Like nobody was winning on like turn 2. Those games either like instantly went to a draw or they dragged out to a draw by time. Like that was a very mentally taxing event.
It was.
Yeah, I actually liked the choice of. I knew that Rowan probably would have done better, but I don't think the Niv-Mizzet choice was incorrect. I 28th out of 65, but no, I don't think it was incorrect. I think what was just tough was the transition of having like regular REL, I don't even think it was comp REL. I think it was just like regular REL, no pro REL.
Yeah. So
like I had, made some choices in my deck. Pro REL control deck, I think is like the way I talked to Sam Black, and he was like, he thinks that like, I don't want to misquote him, but he said like control is like the best way like to play the game, and he would play control, but there's just not enough time, right?
Yeah.
And that's why he plays Rock Thrash.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's really interesting, because I don't think he knew like when we talked that I was playing like Niv-Mizzet,
Yeah.
But like I like agree with it to a lot of extents, and it's just like if it was pro REL and people got punished, like. Oh my! Like I was one of the many people who were affected by judging throughout that event.
Yep.
So
well, yeah. I mean, we had our game, so
our last pod was affected by that.
Do you want to touch on that?
Well, one, I did not see the time. Well, no one saw the time.
No one saw the time, and nobody told us. Like no judge came by and said like, there's a couple minutes left until like you're hitting that 20-minute mark. They basically told us with like minutes left, 20 minutes into overtime, that the round was ending, and we're all just like, wait, what?
Yeah. And in addition, like there was like some like players showing up late, like not getting the correct time amount back when like a judge took over, and to basically bring back in life and time and health within the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like a situation happened that if I knew the time, there was like a grand abolisher that was going to be resolved in the stack by a certain Dahada player. If I saw the time, like because I thought I'd have enough time to get back to my turn.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Not realizing that all these different things affected our time. But yeah, I just would have let the grand abolisher resolve and scoop and say GG's and good luck.
Yeah.
And for a reference point, this was our round 7. We're all on a win and end, so that's why that play would have made sense. This wasn't like a round 1 where you just scoop to an abolisher because we're at time.
And a draw in that scenario puts all of you out of the top.
Yeah,
16.
draw. We ultimately ended up drawing, and until that happened, which happened after the fact, we all thought we drew ourselves out of top 16.
That's brutal.
Technically, from where we were standing, a draw for any of us should not have assisted us into getting into top 16. Envy was weird where 106 magically did get in.
Yep. 2 106s.
We all went into that round like, I think we were all 1-1-5 or something. Or in Jeremy was like 105. I was 1-1-5. I was 1-1-4. We all had a win in like max draws and 1 loss, or 0 losses in max draws.
Yep.
So it was like, if you don't win this, your invitational's over.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I have 2 things to say for this. The first was, I want to touch on what you said about being mentally, physically, like, prepared. And part of that is out of your control. Part of it is like, you just feel how you feel on a certain day, and you can do as much as you want to prepare and sleep well and eat well. But at the end of the day, it's really just up to luck. And for the Envy, I thought I felt the best I felt in a tournament, where it was like, I was in finals pod and I just felt, I was like, I'm ready. I'm super mentally able to like evaluate what's going on. I felt like energetic, and I felt like my opponents, there was times when they were like, oh, I'm really hungry, or like, it felt like the toll of the tournament had kind of gotten to them, and I wasn't feeling that. So part of that Envy win, I think, was luck, because I felt really good that day.
Oh, I watched. You looked like Zach Prime.
I was like,
tell you.
Zoned in.
He was like, woo.
I'm like, I just popped a
It's interesting how you can go from like the highs and the lows though. Like, I recall my round 5, I'm at like 0-4, like haven't won a game, haven't lost a game, just drew every game. Stockwell turn 2 adnost us, and nobody had an answer.
Yeah.
So like ended round 5 with a loss, like left day 1 just like feeling dismal.
Yeah.
Like was not stoked, like did not like feel good about day 2.
Yeah.
Went into day 2, played one of the best games I've ever played
With Sam Black,
versus
right?
Dylan and Sam Black.
Yeah.
Won that game, went into my game with Anthony just like, let's fucking go.
Right.
And it like started the day off like at the lowest point possible, went into round 2 like just stoked. Like it's just interesting like how much that changes how you play the game.
It does. Yeah. And the second thing I was going to mention is at Fishbowl, our most recent Fishbowl, like I'd won 1 game day 1. I felt bad. I was not playing well. I was like, I'm punting. Like, I just know I'm not playing very well. And I went into day 2 and I was like, I'm just going to say, because I had done the same thing at the previous Fishbowl where I'd not played day 1 very well, and I'd carried that energy into day 2, and it made me play worse and just be like, fuck this. Day 2, I was like, if I win 2 games, I top 16. So I just need to be like, each game is a unique and special experience, and it's just a game of cEDH. And it, I think, allowed me to be like, okay, I'm just playing the game. And that's what helped me, was just being able to reset. And then secondarily here, in my top 16 game at Fishbowl, we also didn't get to see the time. And so I ended up losing that game in time after 3 hours with a resolved abolisher and a beseech the mirror on the stack. And I was like, oh, and that's time right there. And not being able to see the clock is such a huge detriment, where it's like, oh, I can't actually evaluate where I'm at right now. And it makes a huge difference in how you play the game. So
yeah, and I had the opposite experience of you. Like the prior Fishbowl, I had 2 wins at the end of day 1. Like, went into day 2, like, we're just gonna rip it, we're gonna crush it, we're gonna get those 2 wins, and we're gonna top 16. And that's what happened. Like, just having that mental mindset.
Yeah.
My Fishbowl this time, like, I think I won round 1 and drew literally every other game until our last round, where Garrett trogged me, and I was just like in this mindset of like, that was one of the most miserable games of cEDH I've ever played. Like, basically lost on turn 2, but that game went on to almost time of just being unable to play due to God Pharaoh's statue and various stacks pieces, and just in utter misery.
Yep.
And went into day 2 with basically just like, I don't fucking care attitude, and it showed, and I didn't play well.
Yep.
Attitude is huge, actually. Like, attitude.
Yeah.
Attitude is like really huge as you go through round. Like it matters. Like, and your opponents will like pick up too, like, where your attitude's at as well. Like, it's just super. It does matter.
Yeah. Especially.
Well, that brings up an interesting question, which maybe either one of you could answer. Like, say you have a bad round and you're, feeling pretty down about it, how do you change your mindset to like pivot back to the, we're just going to have fun and see how it goes versus like, I'm not having a good time, I'm playing poorly. Like, how do you flip that switch?
Okay. I think this is super funny, but if you've ever been to a large tournament, or maybe even like a small local tournament, but especially a large tournament, it becomes this huge like therapy session because there's only a few winners. Yeah. And like, look, I'll be real, I hate it. Like, I really do. I used to be a part of it, and I found that was during my Sissa era. Like, I was losing games because like I was just like, oh, like this happened. This guy said, Zane said, he had Oppo, it's not even his list,
He's on wrong side telling you he has Oppo.
Yeah, he's like, I have Oppo, and I believe him. And just like, my mindset is next round. Like, if someone says, oh, how'd your game go? And I'm just like, I lost next round, next round. Like, some of you may have noticed, like I'll say that, like, I really try not to like go into whatever my previous game, like, I don't get like tournament nerves because like at all, when I started playing, like, I would just tell myself like, how to play, how to play, how to play. I don't have to tell myself that anymore because like I know how to play, but it's just like, that's the thing, is like, I know how to play the game, I know how to play it well. I find myself like, I don't like ever really like punt, like if I lost, it's because like someone just was faster, or they did something like pretty cool, or I got outplayed, so I'm like, and if that happens, like, why would I care? You know what I mean? Next round, like next round, you know what I mean? Like, and that, like, and that's why it's like, it's so important, like with your micro plays, like you at least sequence correctly, you know what I mean? And so I made sure like I have that going on, because I just think that you're wasting a lot of energy. You're becoming more fatigued. You're like basically like going around like the trauma of whatever your previous round was, and then all of a sudden like you go into your next round, and I don't think that's good. I don't think it's like, maybe it is healthy for some people to talk about it. I just find it's just better attitude to just go straight in the next round, not be about how somebody lied to you or you got wordsmithed, you know what I mean?
Negative energy feeds off negative energy. I think that's something I need to get better at as well. I mean, I'm also very social, so I love just like chatting after rounds, but like Jacob's a good example where he just disappears after the round because he doesn't want to talk to anybody. Maybe that's something I need to get better at, whereas if I lose a round, not just sitting around commiserating about how we all just lost a round and then go into the next round just having spent 20 minutes chatting about losing.
Yeah.
Put on those headphones and just
zone out. Yeah. I here's what I would say. Everyone's different, so people, how they play tournaments are going to change. My background is like, my mom's a therapist, so I've spent a lot of time thinking about internal states and listening to other people's internal states. And so like, for me, I want to be kind of a support pillar for people. So, if they want to talk about their bad games, I'm like, that sucks, but I want to help them work through it. Like, I want to be there to be like, hey, I hear what you're saying. The biggest thing that I want to do, and that what I try and encourage other people to do, is like acknowledge what happened. So what was the good thing or the bad thing that happened in that game? Understand how you could play differently for the next time. So be like, all right, noted, that's not going to happen again. And then reset. Be like, all right, back to cEDH. Every game in this tournament is just a game of cEDH. If you think about it in the like big context of like, oh, I need to win these games, I can draw here, I can win here, you kind of psych yourself out. And if you just look at each game as like that, this is a unique experience, the only thing that matters is this game, that's the best way you can go about it. So when I'm resetting, I'm happy to chat about how people's rounds went. I'll tell people like what happened in my games. But for me, as soon as that game is finished, and during that game, when mistakes happen, like I like to, for like an analogy is like, I like to do my dishes as soon as I make a mess. If something happens in a game that's negative or that impacts how it went, I want to note it immediately and be like, I don't want this to happen again. How am I playing next time? And then I move on, because I'm like, that's not going to help me going forward. And then also, the last thing I would say is, because I think I've gotten a little more information about myself and how I like to play, I know that my best way that I'm going to play is by being a good politician and also sequencing, obviously, but I'm going to get the most out of every game if I can politic more. So if I can talk more, if I can be more engaged in the game, I'm going to do better mid-range games. And so that is a lot of mental energy, but it also means that when I start a game, I want to set the tone really well. So I want to say, I want to meet my opponents. I want to introduce myself. I want to have a fun air, because like the whole point of this is to have fun. So if I am not like, having a good time in these games, then I'm not going to play as well as I know I can. So that's a really important piece for me, is if I can't reset for every round, I find that those games are less fun because I can't set a tone of like, we're all here playing Magic. We're all here to have a good time. And so it really does make those games go better. If you can be like, I'm going to step into this game as a unique experience.
I think there's a lot of value to, talking to maybe your pod or somebody that you play a lot with about like what I may have done wrong in this round and to learn a lesson out of it. Like there's a lot of times where I've lost because I wouldn't say I misplayed, but maybe I didn't fully understand my opponent's combo. Sure. Sam did that to me where the first time a Boro was a thing, I think Sam Sapper was the one who kind of like developed that tech, and like I didn't see that coming, and he smoked me because of it, but it's something I'll never fall for again. But I had a long conversation with him about it after, and it like greatly made me feel better to just be like, cool, like you got me, like that's great, like here's how I don't get got in the future. But I think that's different than just like going outside and talking to a group of randos who also lost about like, projecting our negative energy back and forth at each other than trying to play the next round. So there's a little bit of give and take, but I do like to do post-game analysis to see what lessons can be learned.
Totally.
Post-game analysis, yeah. So Zach, when you go to tournaments, I usually see you like win a lot. So you just like beat your opponent and then you're like, I'm here for you. Like,
yeah. How do you feel?
How do you feel?
Well,
is that what you do?
I genuinely
in their post game analysis being like, you should have done this.
Well, if they want to, I'm not going to tell them. If they're like, hey, what could I have done differently in this game? I would love to talk about that, because like the biggest thing about cEDH, the thing that matters the most to me, is that I can play this game for as long as possible and have fun with it the whole time. And so if I ever have games with people where I feel got or they feel got, I just want to make it clear. If someone wordsmith me out of a good deal, I'm going to just be honest with them and be like, hey, this is how I make deals. It's something I'm working on. But just so you know, in the future, like if you got me here, I probably won't make deals with you in the future. I'm not going to go make a YouTube video about you. I'm not going to like expose you online. But just so you know, this is how I play the game. And if we play again in the future, I don't want to be got by you. So that's how I'm solving the problem.
Because then I will make a video about you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 2 times, you're fucked. But I mean, and again, this is not something that's like, I was not always winning. I've had seasons where I played terribly. Last Fishbowl I went to, I completely tanked. I did horrible,
You weren't very happy in between rounds either, and you could kind of notice it, like where we'd be like, oh, we won, and you'd be like, it's not working today.
Yeah. And part of that's acceptance. Like sometimes you're like, I'm just not playing well, and that's okay. And
and I think like some of that was what we hit on earlier was just meta positioning. You chose to play Kinnan, and I think others chose to play Kinnan. Like Comedian played Kinnan at Fishbowl 5. I don't think he top 16 either. I think Waffle was the only one who squeaked out a Kinnan top 16, but for the most part, Kinnan had kind of a extremely dismal showing at that event.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, this might be completely off topic, but
that's okay.
What do you guys
bring it?
What do you guys think about round 6, round 7, basically day 2, later round, especially in a large tournament, right? What do you guys think about like giving someone the win? I'm gonna give an example here, like, and this happens all the time. This is just an example. So. Comedian, he does really well. Like he plays really well. He has really high elo, and he bubbled, right? And like he bubbled, right? He bubbled, at that event. But there was a pod that someone who may not do as well usually, right? They basically, and it was like lower. Like it was a possibility where like none of them could make it, but there's a possibility where it was like only like one person from the group like could make it, right? And they decided like, hey, we'll just let you have the win, and then they ended up, making top 16, but then, Comedian who performs as he usually performs, right, ended up not making it, right? And I think we've all, or maybe not, have been in basically situations, like that. What do you guys think about that?
I have interesting opinions on this because, like, I can give an example where a certain someone we all know, basically, there's 3 of us in this pod who, if we win, we're top 16ing. There's one player who cannot top 16 if they win. And it ended up that this person like has definitive win on the stack, and the player who cannot go to next round has win on their turn, but a way to stop this player. And, you know, he's going to do this. And I basically like stopped him and said like, hey, like you could stop him, but none of us progress in this tournament, or you could just let him have the win here and he gets to go to top 16. And like, we had a little bit of debate, and ultimately he decided, you know, this player has a legitimate win on the stack. Like, I don't need to stop this player. Like, I get nothing out of it. They get to go to top 16. I'm going to let him have the win. Like, to me, that felt like a fair scenario. But I think it's a very different scenario than this player can go to top 16, but they didn't like have a way to win the game. We're just giving them the win because none of us can move on but them. Like, to me, you need to represent that you can win the game. And I just chose not to stop you because stopping you doesn't get me anywhere.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. It's kind of a weird spot because there is kind of like what you're saying, where by doing this, somebody who legitimately could have bubbled might get kicked out. But I kind of view it as, well, they had a win on the stack, and like me stopping them doesn't get me into top 16. So why should I do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But what if that like player like messed up and like punted, you know? But then, like, what if that player like messes up some punts a lot?
I probably wouldn't give them the win. Like, they would need to have a win on the stack for me to be like, don't stop them, let them have it.
Actual factual win on stack.
Yeah. If I could mind break trap their win and they can't respond to me, but me doing that doesn't get me to top 16 and knocks them out of top 16, like, to me, that just feels like a dick move.
Yeah.
Like, let them have it.
Yeah.
But if, like, they punt their win or they don't have a win and they're just like, hey, if you give me the win here, I get the top 16. And it's just like, well, why? You didn't win. You're not winning. You're not presenting a win. I don't know. It's still a little bit of a weird scenario because, yeah, you might be knocking somebody else out of top 16 by doing that.
Right. Like in this case. Like,
I don't know the best answer.
Yeah. I don't either. But
Here's what I'll say. So this is a good example because this just happened to me in the most recent Fishbowl, where it's like, we go into day 2. If I don't win both games, I don't top 16, right? So my best chance to top 16 is to win that game, obviously. But I have a pre-game discussion with my pod both times where I'm like, hey guys, drawing this game does nothing for any of us. If we draw this game, we're all out, you know? So let's make sure that we don't draw. I want to get to a position where one of us wins, whether it's me or not. And that puts me in the best scenario to top 16 because it's either I lose and someone else has a chance, or I win and I get to go. Both times I was able to put a win on the stack and protect it and win outright. So it wasn't like anyone gave me the win. But if those scenarios had devolved into, like, you know, for example, super mid-rangey, very stack heavy game where it's like, oh, multiple people could have gotten there, like who knows? I don't exactly know what I would do. I would want to assess it from a fair point of view and give the person who is the best chance to win the chance to go to the top 16, because that's what the pregame discussion was about. And in my mind, this is not collusion. This is just me saying, we talked about this pregame. We said that one of us has to go. We can't draw this game. Whoever is best positioned, whether that be someone with a win on the stack and we're going to time, or maybe it's like, oh, if this game reaches a natural conclusion, like who do we think is going to win? I think that makes sense. And the most applicable scenario was when I was in a top 16 game at Mortal Kombat in Colorado. And this is the first time that the rule where the person in first seat advances if time is called. And we got to that point where it was Wounded Satellite, me, Timajin, and another person. And time is called. And he had said before the game, he's like, hey, if someone is in an obviously winning board state, I'm not going to just go. I'm going to give it to the person who deserves to be there the most. And I thought that was a really good way to do it. It was really hazy in that situation because we were all putting wins on the stack. Like, it was my turn. I had, flash speed. He had flash speed. Timajin had flash speed. And it wasn't clear enough to us who we thought should go. And so he ended up taking it. And I don't think he did anything wrong in that scenario. But these sort of situations are really important and important discussions to have. And I do think, like, navigating it the way that where it's like you have that pregame discussion, where it's like one of us has to win this game, that makes it so that when you get to that point at the end of the round, where you guys are in, like you're winning in at the NV, that's when you get to have that conversation where Brian's like, I have an abolisher on the stack, I can win this game, and I can go to the top 16. If we draw, none of us go. I'd be like, yeah, this is yours. Like
we did have that conversation.
Exactly.
I mean, the problem with that was that nobody knew that we were about to hit time when I cast that Abolisher.
Right.
We ultimately ended up having a conversation. Unfortunately, because it's the Envy, nobody could agree on who should go ahead.
Yeah.
We had a debate. It went back and forth. Ultimately, we all had a draw. It is what it is. Ancient history now. Similar, like my Fishbowl 5, like it was me, Dave, local Dave, one of the local OBG games, and Andy Beach, and we had a pregame discussion about like we're all on a winning in. One of us needs to win. Eventually, it came down to I got a Myrellin play, and Dave has a One Ring. For whatever reason, I couldn't just flicker Citadel and do a dual caster combo, so I had to Thoracle. With Thoracle trigger on the stack, Dave's like, I have a Cephalid Coliseum. It's a land. I can still activate it. And like we ended up having this huge conversation of like, I mean, yeah, you can kill me here, but then none of us go on. And I was like, if this scenario was reversed, I'd let you have this here, Dave. And like this kind of went back and forth. Andy got a little bit heated because he felt it was a little collusionary. And we ended up having like this 10-15 minute combo. And while we're having this combo, I realized deflecting SWAT's in my graveyard, so Dave can't stop me anyways. Yeah. And it ends up being null and void. And like that made Andy feel a lot better afterwards when I was like, no, I haven't. D-SWAT's here. Like he literally can't Cephalid Coliseum me. Like this is a clean win now. But like, there were, even when you have that pregame conversation, when it comes down to the wire, like, combos get heated. And there's, everybody wants that win. And it can be still hard to navigate. And the people that are able to just say, you're in the best position, have at it, like absolute respect there.
What do you think about that, Anthony? You think that kind of answers the question or helps to contribute to the conversation around it?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, we play a complicated game, and every scenario, is different, and there could be, details that are missing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, and then whether you find those details or not after, it does make a difference, right? It does make a difference. Like I had to SWAT the whole time,
yeah.
So, peace of mind. Everybody needs peace of mind, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
You also don't ultimately have to stop somebody. I mean, like, if it's a win and in for everybody and you have a way to stop that player, like, does stopping that player really benefit you? Like, that's the flip side of the combo. Like, if you don't stop that player, are you preventing somebody who had a legitimate, uncontested win that wasn't going to time, now going to get bubbled out? Like, it's hard to say. Like, maybe they would get bubbled out regardless, and then like you could have been in and you chose not to, and now neither one of you are in. I don't know. I don't have a clear answer.
I think for me, it all comes down to what's my highest EV chance of getting in, and if that pregame discussion is had, and I know my highest chance EV is winning, obviously. Drawing does nothing, losing does nothing. If we eliminate the scenario of draws, then it's a win for me or a win for 3 other people. And that scenario in my mind is much higher chances of me being able to get in than not having that conversation and potentially drawing the game. Yeah. So to me, it's just EV. It's like I have a better chance if we don't draw.
Yeah. It doesn't always work either. Like land go round 6, we all needed one more win to top 16. We're all at 2 wins and everybody needed one more. We had the pregame conversation. Ultimately, that game wound up with like 4 Rhystic Studies, 4 Ranger Captains. Nobody could basically say, I'm willing to concede to let somebody else have the win. Everybody wanted it for themselves. And we ended up drawing because nobody could make that concession.
Yeah. And that'll happen.
And a lot of it, oddly enough, was based around like the top deck points, not actually topping the tournament. It was, I want this win because I think this is going to lock me for Envy. And nobody was able to make a concession as a result because we were all like 600 or 700 points at that point, and hitting top 16, would get you another like 200, which was pretty much locked. And so nobody could make a decision about who should get that. It became less about like top 16ing and more about the points, and nobody ultimately was willing to give.
And then no one got it. It's a prisoner. This is honestly just like a very common prisoner's dilemma scenario.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I actually, out of that pod, because it was me, Matt Hayes, local Colorado guy who I can't remember the name, and somebody else. Like, I don't think any of us top 16s that tourney. I think me and Matt both wound up in like top 32, so we got some points, and me and Matt both made the Envy ultimately. But yeah, like no one willing to give a little bit on who should go forward basically cost everybody top 16.
Yep, it's an interesting scenario. Okay, I think we should start to close here, and I have a couple questions for you, Anthony. The first is, do you think that Rowan will become worse now that people know what it does? And do you think that its ability to win has been because people are not respecting it enough? Like, is the Brewers' advantage of the deck a big reason for the success, or was it just contributing?
No, Rowan only improves.
Interesting.
You have to understand is like, I played this deck for an entire year and I always thought it could basically go out and just like win a tournament. I played it for an entire year. Who am I playing against? I'm playing against locals. I'm playing against locals who are losing to Rowan. And people still lose to Rowan. We have Rowan pilots, right? We have people who play Rowans outside of myself. We have like 3-4 Rowan pilots just in like NorCal, and maybe even more. And what do? They say, this is crazy. I now know it. Like everyone like where I play at knows Rowan. They know my list, they know what I'm trying to do. You know what I mean? And what that meant was I went through a year's worth of a successful list. Once again, Cookout was my lowest placing in a tournament for Rowan ever. 3, and then I think I lost like my last 2 or something.
Yeah, but you won the redemption event.
Yeah. But I'm saying, but at the time, right? At the time. And so what I'm saying is that the list is really good, right? The list is really good. The logic for the deck is really good. Once again, like a lot of people say, oh, like just remove Rowan. Well, it's like, let's look at Rock Side, right? Rock Side's removal is all bounce, right? If you can't win the game fast enough, Rowan just gets replayed. And then once again, turns 1 through 2 is super, developing. And let's talk about the math of it, right? So players run 0 to 4 pieces of hardcore removal, and then they usually run about, if they're on blue, like 10 on average, and I think it's actually since slowly been decreasing, about 10 average like counter spells, right? And then it's just super dependent too. Like, is it a heavy blue pod? Is it a mixed? You know what I mean? And how aggressively do these decks have to mull? And then maybe you are looking for it. You might just mulligan yourself into oblivion, right? Where it's like it's no longer even worth to keep this hand that maybe has like a snapback or swords.
Sure.
So maybe you believe in fourth seat that you shouldn't get interaction, which is probably not correct, but there's people who have logic like that, and maybe they've found it successful for them, but there's too many factors that lead into those precious 3 turns. So no, I think that gets better. I think Wizard of the Coast is going to keep printing cards like Snort.
I love Snort.
Sick. And sorcery schemes, multiversal passage. Ever since they decided, like, hey, like we don't like how power kept our cards from Lord of the Rings were. Like they're all going to be like standard level power. Well, these standard level powered cards have like a bunch of gas, so the deck only gets better, only improves.
Yeah.
If heaven forbid Jeweled Lotus comes back, gets unbanned, it's that and Niv-Mizzet, but I think especially Rowan is one of the decks more affected by it. Like people say, like, oh, Rao. Like, no, Rao already has like
Rao can turn 1 or 2 like
already.
consistently all the time.
Already, right? So it's like it doesn't really improve the deck, and it'll go in, but it's like they still need mana.
Like oh my god, do I want JLo back? Like that improves Dahada significantly, but it's kind of the same thing. Like as more people know what my deck does, like they know the interaction points better, but it's still hard to interact with. Like you don't want to counter Dahada, like doesn't do anything. You just wasted your interaction on something that doesn't win the game. Most people know that like I have creature combo lines, but there's limited spells that actually deal with that, so it's hard to deal with in general. Like I live in fear of Commandeer. Like that's terrifying. Like, Kinnan and you on Niv like absolutely want to Commandeer a Dahada and untap with 4 treasures.
Every time.
But beyond that, like nobody's gonna force a will it.
No.
It comes down to, can you deal with a Magda or an Abolisher? And most times people can't.
Yeah.
And it's hard to deal with. And Rowan's very similar. Like, can you deal with my first spell? Yes, but can you deal with the next 2?
Yeah, and every deck is that's like it's funny. I was at the fishbowl and this guy went on a long rant, talking about like, oh, I know what his deck does, like I know, and then someone had to say like, hey, bro, you get it? Rowan's dope, but we're all threats here.
Yep. We're all playing
Right?
cEDH.
I love reminding people of that.
Yeah, no,
You,
and
sir,
it's
are
true.
also trying to win.
That's true. Like if you use the force of will, on like the cannon, the next player might win the game, or they might just win anyway because you didn't stop the actual win con. So
And you just went down 2 cards.
and he went down 2 cards. Yeah, super card disadvantage. So no, I think it gets better. I think it gets better.
That's sweet. I'm excited to keep playing Rowan. One thing as a player I want to work on, and perhaps this is similar to your journey, Anthony, it's like, you know that you're really good at control. And you say, I want to explore this other aspect of cEDH that is different, like just like you're Brian, you're picking up Lady Octopus, right? You're like, I don't need to just play Dihada. Like I can flesh out other aspects of my playstyle. I can play cEDH more well-rounded. I don't want to, one trick pony this out.
Fleshraker's my goat. Shout out to Punchy.
What is?
Fleshraker.
Fleshraker is sick. Yeah. But yeah, I want to stress like people should be trying these decks. I would love to pick up Niv. I already have Rowan Proxied, and it's exciting to test things that are winning in other ways.
Well,
Yeah.
I also told Anthony I would be playing Rowan, so
Nice.
just need to get the cards in. It's a shame proxies take quite a while to get right now,
It's a cheap
but
deck. Yeah, it's cheap.
tariffs are what they are. Yeah, I know. I need to just like go to what is it, Card Kingdom, and just get them all in one bunch because most of the cards I'm missing are cheap. But I'm excited to
5
give it some
mana
spins.
tutors.
Well, that's the other thing about Rowan. Like Anthony was saying, like we're trying to get away from fire design, but they still want to make powerful cards, so they just make them like 5 to 7 mana. But Rowan doesn't care about that.
Yeah.
So like keep printing 5 to 7 mana like bombs because Rowan will keep playing them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's real.
Anything else we want to touch on before we wrap?
I would say, just in terms of like brewing, I'd say this. So one thing that I personally did is like, there's like technically like other discords, for like Rowan and Niv-Mizzet, but I found myself in a position where I was like the only player like actually winning like tournaments in like relevant recent times. Of course, there's people who were doing it in like different eras, but just like in terms of like top deck, etc. And then this is not like a diss or anything, but this is just like, this is just what worked for me. Is like, there's people who play the deck, but they play the deck really casually. And my discords are technically tournament discords because like I really focus on just like the tournament culture. And I think that's super important because a lot of people, when they give takes, they only give takes to like the local meta, and like, and like there's like 1,000 Drakes, like, and they're like local meta, and so they have to play all these cards. And locals is just so different than tournament because like
Absolutely.
if you just sit in a pod and you don't even rotate, you're basically playing the same regurgitated game over and over and over. Where in a tournament you got to play musical chairs, you got to shuffle, you got to go play new people, you got to go play new different commanders, And so that's why like I wanted to get away from those other discords and just make a discord like, hey, like I play this deck, I played in tournament, I travel for it, If you guys like that or interested in that, want to take a skeleton of like what I'm building, but it's like it's just more of a drive in terms of like sheer focus of this is a journey of the deck of the commander of let's make it as like the best that we can, and I try and keep it as open as possible, in terms of like new ideas, or like, hey, look at this, you know what I mean? Because like culture is super important, so I always try and like try and keep it as like open as possible, So of course some ideas are like interesting takes, but a new card to come in and then that old interesting take can be relevant again. So it's like join it. So what I'm saying is like if you want to brew, make a Discord, maybe make a new Discord or maybe join a Discord. But I do think like community and having people who see the vision and want the deck to succeed, I do think it helps, so
Completely agree.
And be open to new ideas. I mean, and that's something I struggle with at times. Like, just because I don't agree with a card doesn't mean I should dismiss it. Because as you were saying, like later down the line, that card potentially could become really good. And I think, some discords can be an echo chamber where they're very against trying new things. But oftentimes you try something new and you find out, holy crap, like this card's fantastic. And, just being open can really get you to new places with design and like deck functionality. I've found, especially, the Dihada Discord, we talk about this a lot. Like a lot of people might think this card's bad and then you test it out and everybody's like, oh, card's really good. Like Tezzeret's something I'm testing right now. On paper, like I didn't think it would be good. In practice, it's been absolutely incredible. Like a turn 1 Tezzeret off a Mana Vault, like gets me an Esper Sentinel, gets me Vexing Bauble. Turn 2, I'm untapping it again, and I'm already at 5 mana. It's fantastic. Off Citadel, it gets me top. The card's gas.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. Well,
but on paper, I was very against testing that card because I didn't think it'd be good.
The only universal staples I believe in terms of like brews, it's fast mana, because that's what makes our format different.
Yep.
Than playing regular EDH. But like, Imperial Seal might not go in every deck. Demonic Tutor might not go in every deck. Right? Like Command Tower might not go in every deck, even though it goes in almost every deck.
Yep.
Gemstone Cavern might not go in every deck. It's just like even though that kind of is like fast mana, I don't play that specifically. And
there's technically an argument that Command Tower is not a good card in monocolored decks because like you can't fetch it. So why wouldn't it just be an island
or a utility land?
Yeah.
So it's like just keep the mind open.
Keep the mind open. Talk to the community.
Talk to the community, exactly. Find the staples for the actual deck itself.
Hell yeah.
Reevaluate everything. Like Niv-Mizzet used to play Born, and then we're like, wait, why do we play Born when we can't flash in Dockside anymore? Stuff like that.
And meta changes in some cards that were really good might not be that good anymore. Like I feel like just playing Dahada for like a year and a half now, there's cards that were absolutely incredible a year ago, like Oppo, that doesn't really do much anymore. And you have to have the flexibility to adjust to meta changes and not get attached to cards like you were saying, and try new cards and grow your deck as the meta grows.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, it's something that I really am working on a lot in my brewing journey, because that's not something that I'm naturally good at. And I just acknowledging some of my shortcomings, like learning how to understand the meta, how to optimize my deck for the meta is really useful. And if you don't know how to do those things, like you can also just lean on the power of other people. Like you can play Anthony's list. You can, if you don't know what you're doing and you're like, I don't know how to go. In fact, like when you do start playing a new deck, I would actually recommend just playing it stock with the person who's doing the best on it.
Yep.
Like that's probably
the number one
best
mistake most people make, I feel, and you probably see this a little bit more in 1v1, but you see it here too, is like take a tried and true deck, cut a card that works for a pet card. Don't do that.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, like young
but like you were saying, Zach, yes. But like you were saying, Zach, sometimes just listening to others and trying, I feel like an enemy told you in Stockwell about Mayhem Devil a while ago. Like he'd been ranting about how good the card was for like a year in our Discord, and nobody really took him seriously. And then people tested it, and lo and behold, you took it to the Envy and you won.
Yeah, and now the card is something I don't think I would cut from Blue Farm. Like it's just so good. I'm almost like, damn. Do we put Curiosity in Blue Farm with Mayhem Devil and Bowmasters? Like, is that kind of sick? I'm gonna leave that.
I mean, when I was playing Pirates for a bit, like they used to be on a Niv-Mizzet build.
Grixis Pirates was running Niv for a while, so it had Curiosity, and then ultimately Niv got cut. But Curiosity ended up actually being pretty good without Niv because of Mayhem Devil, Bowmaster, and even just Malcolm. But Curiosity on an OBM is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like. I kind of like that. I also really like the idea of like, let's cut the talismans. Let's add in. That's the other thing I was going to mention that I didn't was Tataru was a huge thing. It was it was a card, right? We were all like, this card sucks.
A replacement for the talisman.
Yes,
it's a replacement. It's a superior replacement. Like, why are we playing a talisman when we can play Tataru?
Yes, yeah, right. Boom. Yeah, Alex was really unsure about it, and I was like, dude.
It's insane.
Worst, I get a treasure out of this, and I draw a card. That's better than a Talisman of Dominance. Like, I would rather see Tataru 9 times out of 10.
I mean, you see how often I tutor Lotho, but there's times where, the board state is there's 2 fish. I'm tutoring Tataru because I'm going to see way more treasures.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't, like, I'm playing Blue Farm. Tataru is revealed. I don't go, I needed to take out a creature. No. Talisman gone.
Yeah.
I look at things from a slightly different perspective because I want cards that if I hit them off Citadel, they're going to do something. So something like a Generous Plunderer, like off Citadel.
You're drawing a card off Taro Taro.
Well, no, I'm on Tataru Taro. Tataru Taro is amazing. Like, it might make me a tap treasure, but if I have a Magda out, that's one more closer to getting something else. But it's also, I can hold priority on the top and see if it's a card I want to draw or one I can cast instantly. Like, a Generous Plunderer is just a card that sits dead off Citadel, which is why I like his thing.
It doesn't have to be a Generous Plunder.
I'm thinking about Blood Pet or a Skirt Prospector now, or something that makes mana. Yeah. The difficult situation I run into is like Ancient Tomb's Signet Vamp Tutor, amazing. Land, Blood Pet, but I have a Vamp Tutor. Now I'm in this weird spot of, do I want to accelerate mana or do I want to tutor? And that's where it gets a little bit iffy at times, but it's something I need to think about more.
Yeah. If you're on more soul effects, like Soul Rings, Ancient Tombs, City of Traders, I do think some of these 2 mana rocks are better, but I am not smart enough to know how many or when they are. So it's like, that's the vibe that I've been getting.
I mean,
then you look at like,
I was gonna say,
you look at Tim Nadargo
recently, and like that's incredible. Like, it's a card that again seems like it shouldn't be that good, but one, it's very easy to have colorless mana to filter, and the advantage of like scrying 2 can be incredible. Like, you get rid of the top 2 garbage cards, or you're just like, oh cool, like that's an abolisher on top. I win next turn.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think that card is such a good card.
But if like I would love, like, they're never gonna do it, but God, give us hierarchs of all the color pairings, please.
Yeah. Anything else for this video, though, that we wanted to cover that we didn't catch?
No, I mean, if we're closing out, just come to Breach the Bay and and
Cosmic Crown. Yeah.
Cosmic Crown.
Mm-hmm.
We have artists. We got Tim.
We got food.
Cindy. We got food.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading our notes, and 1, Breach the Bay, gonna be awesome. 2, playing the best deck might not get you the best results if it's not the deck that you enjoy playing the most. Like, I simply don't enjoy playing T&K. It's not my play style. I will never have as much success on T&K as I will on a deck I like. Like, Lady Octopus probably isn't the most optimal deck, but I'm having a lot of fun on it, which means I'm probably going to have more success on it because I like it. So play what you like, get good at it. Deck specialist is a real thing.
Couldn't agree more. I personally am taking a bit of a break from farm, and it doesn't mean that, I don't think it's good. It's just like, I want to try new things. I want to play different decks. I want to, I want to keep my brain grow. Like, I don't just want to, like,
better the more you play.
Challenge yourself.
Yeah, I don't want to pigeonhole myself. But then it's like, I went to an event where it's a no proxy event, and my only no proxy deck is Blue Farm. And so I played it at the bronze, and I won the bronze event. And I was like, all right, this deck is still really fucking good. And I am probably the best on this deck just because I put in so much work on it. But it's okay to experiment and try new things. And it's okay to lose tournaments, and to not do well if you want to just experiment and try.
Yeah, you can always borrow Tahada if you wind up at another no proxy event.
I'm down. Yeah. all the miscuts, they're like,
People think they're fake cards. It's great.
It's so funny.
A guy told me at Fishbowl, we were playing in LobbyCon, and he was like, hey, I have a Mana Confluence that you can borrow if you want. I was like, oh no, that's a real Mana Confluence.
It's just half of one. Yeah. Thank you, Anthony, for joining. I super appreciate your takes. And Brian, I really appreciate you being here as well. I feel like this was a really fun conversation.
This was great.
And I hope this inspires people to try new decks, to brew, to join the Rowan Discord, to join the Niv Discord. Go outside of your comfort zone, and just know that if you pick up Blue Farm and you don't do well, it's not because you're a bad player. It might just be because it's not the deck for you. So keep trying and experimenting, and I guarantee you'll find success when you find a deck that speaks to you.
See you guys at Breach the Bay, and happy holidays.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, right. Cheers.
Catch you next week.
Big thanks to Anthony for coming onto the episode and talking with us about some really interesting ideas. I hope you guys took away some pointers that you could use to make your decks slightly better and really eke out the advantage that us competitors are really looking for. If you want to get a hold of Anthony for any reason, whether or not it be coaching or just a chat or to pick his brains on why talismans are bad, I know I actually did exactly this thing after editing this episode. You can find him on Discord at both the Niv Discord and the Rowan Discord, which the links will be down below. Really good Discords with a competitive mindset that Anthony is very particular about fostering a good community for. If you would like to win this week's giveaway, which is going to be a token pack of Mox Altar tokens for a bunch of fancy cEDH tokens for your playmat, all you have to do is like and subscribe and leave a comment like this person did from last week, letting us know what we could do better. I believe we're planning on having Anthony back on sometime soon. So if you have any questions for him, that's a great way to get our attention and to also possibly win you some fancy tokens. Speaking of coaching, as you guys know, Zach is always open for coaching if you guys are looking to up your game and improve, which is basically ostensibly why we're making the channel in the first place, to help you guys improve. If you guys just want a little bit more one-on-one, feel free to hit him up. All the information is down below, and you can find him on Discord as well. Also, if you guys missed our announcement video, we finally have our Patreon and Discord up and running for those of you guys who are interested in contacting us and supporting us. And any little bit is helpful, regardless of what it is. We're out here just trying to build out a community, so this way it's a way for us to have a more direct outreach to you guys. And of course, as always, do the YouTube things, like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and go play some cEDH.